Otacon, come in.
Snake, I'm here. What do you need?
Have you ever heard of a YouTube channel called DrewPeter?
DrewPeter? Oh, you must mean DrewPeter, the super small YouTube review show that began about a year ago? The indie gem of the entire YouTube space? Yeah, I know about them.
You sound like you're pretty into them.
They're the best. Sure, they don't have the best visual or audio quality compared to the other big names on the platform, and their upload schedule is quite slow, but their videos still have plenty of watching value.
I see. So it's about the quality of their discussions rather than the quality of the video format.
Exactly. They're inspired by the likes of Red Letter Media, Sardonicast, and the Let's Fight a Boss podcast.
This Drew and Peter duo are starting to sound like a bunch of copycats to me.
I'd have to disagree with you there, Snake. The hosts of each of those other shows are millennials. DrewPeter offers a completely fresh, one-of-a-kind spin on media takes by being part of a completely different generation.
What do you mean?
It has to do with their lore, Snake.
Lore?
Yeah, I know it sounds odd, considering that they're a YouTube channel. Wait, did you seriously take on this mission without reading their channel description?
Channel description?
Honestly, Snake, do you even browse YouTube?
Honestly, no.
I see. Well, I'll just have to fill you in. They're from the future, Snake.
The future?
Hundreds of years ahead of our time, using futuristic technology to communicate with the past, aka our present, all to relay their opinions about various media forms.
You don't actually believe any of that crap, do you?
I don't know, but the idea of believing in it is kind of fun.
Besides, if those guys really did have access to all of that, couldn't they just use it for something more meaningful? Like fixing the mistakes of the past?
They're afraid to do anything like that. Anything like that could directly impact the time-space continuum.
I see. Best we steer clear of that too.
I'm with you there.
But anyways, you sure seem to know a lot about these guys. Did you know about them before the briefing?
Boy, did I. I'm one of their subscribers.
One of their subscribers. They only have 8 displayed at the time of recording.
If DrewPeter has 8 subscribers, I'm their subscriber. If DrewPeter has 1 subscriber, I'm still their subscriber. If DrewPeter has 0 subscribers, then I am dead. Just like if Han has only 1 fan, Peter is his fan.
What the hell does that even mean?
Don't worry about it. So do you really think that we can do it?
Impersonate these guys? How hard can it be?
It's not going to be that easy, Snake. The two of them have some of the most specific and highly acclaimed opinions on any media form out there.
According to you.
Listen, Snake. It's true we know a lot about the events of the first 3 Metal Gear Solid games, but we have to offer an unbiased perspective of them.
I see. So we compliment the games, but not too much to the point where we love every single aspect of them. We sprinkle in criticisms where we can, just to prove that we have backbones. Give the viewers what they want, a little bit of everything, the good and the bad.
That's right. The perfect DrewPeter balance of complimenting and criticizing the things they like. Assuming they do like these games.
Yeah, I guess we'll find out. We are here once again to discuss a set of games this time. This being a series called Metal Gear Solid, which is the sequel series to a series called Metal Gear. And we're talking about the first 3 Metal Gear Solid games here today, which is, I guess, considered the Metal Gear Solid trilogy. I don't know. I guess to start it off, from what I know about the series, or at least what I knew about it going in, because this is both of our first times sort of taking a look at these games here in our lifetimes. I knew about the Metal Gear Solid stuff just from various internet talking points. They're pretty well known games, I guess, from through various memes and just YouTube videos. People on the YouTube space love it for what is it called, the video essays. How could I forget? And yeah, just stuff like that. The actual first game experience with Metal Gear was through the 5 where it had that Ground
Really?
Zeroes
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
free like prologue thing that I played on
Mhm.
Xbox One back in the day, and like
That
I
might have
really
been
don't
my
remember much
first.
from it. It was pretty short, and it was
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
I remember thinking, well, that was nice, but I was like kind of bad at it also. Like
It was really
you know,
strange too, because the story itself was obviously building upon, decades of stories that have already been
right?
told. And so jumping into the fifth,
Yeah,
which is a prologue of a prequel of a sequel of a whatever
yeah. I don't know where
we'll
that
get
one
into
takes
it, but
place. We don't know anything about the sequels, or at least I
yeah.
don't. I know that Rising is a thing that exists, but like other than that, I'm pretty limited on my knowledge. So yeah, and then other than that, I just know Snake from like Super Smash Bros. When he showed up, but that was probably the first time I had heard or known about the guys. So yeah, Peter, how did you know about the Metal Gear Solid series before going
Yeah.
into this?
Like the Metal Gear Solid series is like widely celebrated and, an item of pop culture at this point.
Hmm.
My uncle was a big fan of those games growing up, and so like as I was a kid, I was at least familiar with them, although I never got to play them because they were on PlayStation. But it was just something that existed in pop culture. Snake was iconic, and these are like some of the most widely celebrated stealth games or games in general. Uh,
Stealth action combat, or what is the tagline? Stealth action espionage.
Espionage, yeah, exactly. So it's definitely something that existed more in my mind than I was familiar with the actual like story or gameplay or like
Right.
what anything, uh, whatever the games actually entailed. I was more just
Yeah, I would pick
aware
up like
of the.
various terms throughout the years. Like I knew
Mhm.
like there was a solid snake and a liquid. I guess minor spoilers, but we'll be spoiling them all eventually. Um, and like the Psycho Mantis, I knew that was a person. I didn't really know, but like I
Right.
just heard
And there
like
were like
from memes and
strange
stuff.
kind of meta aspects to the games where like there was some fourth wall breaking or
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it just, Kojima was known for kind of taking interesting freedoms with the video game medium and kind of breaking it in interesting ways.
Yeah. Which this is also my first like full blown Kojima experience. I don't know if it's the same for
Yes,
you.
same,
Yeah.
same here. Mhm.
We're slowly starting to understand the myth behind the legend
Yeah,
of the man.
which is hard to unravel because it is so, tangled up in many different games and other forms of media and
Hmm.
his larger than life character, but it's cool to actually do the homework and actually play through the games that kind of broke him onto the scene,
No, yeah.
although I know people love talking about whatever the space detective.
Death Stranding?
It's what no it's he wrote like it was like a pixel kind of I think it might have been just like a um, I forget what kind of game, but it has something to do with space
It wasn't Omnicron, was it, or whatever? I
or
have no idea.
detectives, something like that. I
Okay.
can't remember.
I'm sure all the fans and viewers will know definitely. But yeah, like they're popular games that are well known about, and we're here to discuss them from a unbiased viewpoint here, where we don't have any nostalgia for these things. Okay, so we're gonna go in, we're gonna go ham, we're gonna do whatever it is. But overall, with these three games, to get to some of our, I guess, non-spoiler takes generally across the three of them. Um, they're nice overall. I think they each have their moments, and what's really like stands out to me most of all is how they sort of change and evolve with each new entry.
Hmm.
It's clear immediately through the graphics. Like they came out in 1998 for the first one on the PS1, and then the second one was in 2001. So it's only a 3 year
Yep.
difference there, but the like graphical quality like difference is massive.
Yeah,
On that one was on
absolutely.
the PS2, and then the third game was also on the PS2, but 3 years later in 2004, and like the jump from that to the others, like it's a pretty big leap between all of them graphically, and that's just like on the surface. But like each one mechanically evolves, and like they like differ enough from each other to like one is not a pure like replacement of the other, like both in terms of like
Hmm.
gameplay, story, characters, or both in terms of like everything really.
Yeah.
So they like serve as like unique like just versions of each other that still like fit well within like a video game series. And I think of like Pokemon, for example, of like, you know, excuse me, I could like list off a billion things how like this game introduced this thing which was not in the previous ones, and then this one in the future did this thing also. But like that is not even like on the same plane as like something like this, where it really feels like an evolution, I guess, to put it simply. And
Yeah,
yeah,
I
each of these
fully
games,
agree.
they have their ups and downs for like different reasons. I feel like I like each of these almost about the same. Surprisingly, I
Mhm.
will get into favorites at the end, I guess. I don't know, but I like them all around the same level overall. There's just like certain aspects from each of them that I like more than others, so it sort of balances out to like an even thing, which is cool. So
Mm.
yeah, Peter, take it away.
Yeah,
What are your general thoughts here?
I fully agree. I think that it is extremely impressive to watch the amount of progression that happens between games, both graphically as well as mechanically. They were incredibly ambitious games when they first came out, and like each iteration, which, like you said, kind of each game only took 3 years to develop,
Mm-hmm.
roughly, which is just insane considering how much they change throughout. And they do, like you said, offer very different kind of experiences. So, despite the world being the same and the characters being the same, each game is honestly pretty unique and offers different things that you might enjoy. Unfortunately for me, the first one was still like a rough experience, just purely because of hardware issues on my end. But that definitely colored my experience with it. I think I probably would have agreed with you if I could have gotten that running well. But unfortunately, the jank of the first one took it
Mm-hmm.
down in my eyes. But two and three, I would agree. They are very similar quality wise, but they offer different pros and cons between them.
Mm-hmm.
And one, I also is super unique. Great introduction into the world if you're going to start anywhere. But just be aware that these are old games. First one came out in 1998
Yeah, exactly.
for the PlayStation 2, and it's very much trying to flex with the hardware at the time and do interesting things that haven't been done. However, because it's such an old game, some of those are still a little buggy, a little jank, and you just have to kind of accept that and take it as it is.
Yeah, no, I feel you there. I mean, we'll get into it, I guess. Or I guess we could just start talking about it now if we want to get that out of the way for the first game specifically. If you want to start the spoiler
Sure.
discussion, click away if you care, I guess. So yeah,
Hey,
the
we're
first
checking out
game.
the entire series, but
Yeah,
getting
exactly.
into spoilers. The first game is, it's the first, I guess, that many people will have with Snake and the world of Metal Gear. So, as the first one, it's weird because there's only been like one remastered version or remake
Yeah, there
that.
was a like remaster thing on the PS3, I think. So it was originally on PS1, and then on PS3 they did like a newer version, which I played the Master Collection, is what it's called. It was like marketed as Master Collection Volume One because I think they plan on making more, and I don't know if they still are or not. Because it would only be like 4 remastered, and then there's like a bunch of spin-offs that I don't really know much about. Because like 5 doesn't need a
Yeah.
remaster. I mean that's like pretty recent. Um, and we do know also that they're making a Delta, like a remake thing of the third game,
Mhm.
which it hasn't
Which
come
is
out
coming
yet.
out
It's
soon.
coming out in a couple months from now,
Yep.
so it looks cool. I don't know. It looks nice. I mean, it looks
It
like the
does.
exact same game, just like more graphics. Which I mean, the
Yeah,
third game already
and with
looks
like
nice
some
enough. I don't know
quality of
why it
life
needs it, but
improvements.
whatever. If you
Yeah,
want to get
you'd
into
think
that
Metal Gear
discussion here,
1 would be the one that would
right? Yeah.
most gain from getting a remake. However, I understand that might be difficult just because of how dated it is.
Right. It would be
Um,
more to like convert into like modern experiences
right.
because like the three that you don't really have to change much of it mechanically. It's mostly just like a visual overhaul, I guess. Supposedly, I haven't looked too much into it to know if that's what they're doing or not what they're doing. So I could be wrong, but I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, because Metal Gear 1 is Metal Gear Solid one, is the only one that is, top down 2D, which, it has 3D environments, and you can kind of blend it with interesting ways because through the use of like the camera and the thermal vision, which is such an interesting thing mechanic wise to have like in a game from 98. It makes it seem super polished, and there's a lot of elements in these games that are like super like interactive in the most unique ways that you might not expect. With like
Yeah, exactly.
just claymores being able to blow up walls if it's destructible, or kind of the ways that you can interact with the enemy AI using the various tools that are offered to you. It is really impressive with how much interactivity there is in the world, and it makes it super polished.
Yeah, I think that's a thing to highlight, definitely. I guess we could have said that in the before we started trying to focus on the first game, because that is something that like also I would say improves from one game to another, where like by the third game it's more sandboxy, and from my understanding 5 is like it leans the most heavily into that. So yeah, it's a cool different way to like for each game to stand out from one another more. And then also going back to what I was saying earlier, I was playing the Master Collection version, which I think it has like the original version of Metal Gear Solid, but then some sort of Japanese only remastered version, but it was just translated to English, or it still uses Japanese. I didn't understand what was going on with it. I tried looking it up. I just played the original thing. It also has like these VR training random missions, which I did a couple of those, and it was like, yeah. Like it was just I don't know. It was sort of like glorified tutorials of the game. So I messed with them a short amount after I beat the game. I should have done it probably before, because some of these games give me trouble for different reasons. Like I feel like the first game, going like room to room, is like pretty doable, but like the boss fights gave me some challenges.
Oh my goodness, yeah. Specifically, the Gray Fox one was tough for me. So was the Psycho Mantis one, and my God, talking about me playing this game with PC controls instead of controller, which is based on, it was made for PlayStation 2, so it's made for controller.
PlayStation 1, actually, Peter.
PlayStation 1, you're right.
Yeah.
But playing through it on PC was a nightmare, and the Sniper Wolf moment or sequence was
both of them
by far the worst, just because of the controls of the sniper rifle. Like you think, it's usually, trigger, shoot, or whatever, in order to get the scope up and be able to use a scoped weapon to any capacity. Unfortunately, on mouse and keyboard, in order to move the scope, you had to use the directional like controls, and in order to shoot, you had to use a different button. It was just
so you only have 8 directions on that, which probably in the original game they had more than just.
And you're not using your mouse to look around like you would with any
because people might think like you complaining about but that's easier because it's a first-person shooter, but it's you're using
the mouse is not used because it was hard to, I guess, port over the controls of a controller.
Yeah,
I guess
it is sort of difficult. Like in the modern day, I feel like we should be able to map that out easily.
But they did not, and it was hell. And it made, as we were saying, the boss fights even more difficult than they already are, which they are, fairly difficult just because of the constraints of the time. I think it's just hard to create a balanced boss fight or combat, just because it's such an ambitious game, honestly. For 98, it's trying to do a lot, and
it does a lot, I would say, despite its runtime. It's only like, how long? Like 12 hours, and it's maybe the most like effective game I've ever played. Like it's because there's like no downtime, there's no like filler. Like you could consider backtracking to sort of be that. But that's like my only gripe with the like pacing of the game. Otherwise, like I'm used to playing these super long JRPGs, which just like they don't all necessarily waste your time in like every step of the way. But there's definitely moments where it's like, okay, now for the next 10 hours we're doing this thing in the story that isn't really justified that much. But it's like, we're doing it. But this game, I feel like the first one especially, it's like like the pacing is just so tight. Like we're just going back to back, like moment after moment after moment throughout the whole game, and like yeah, there's just like no downtime, no filler, no like anything. It's just like everything is happening and happening for a reason, and I feel like a part of that is how the story sort of interacts with the gameplay. How it, like as you move like through the base, it just like is, I don't know how to say it, like a natural progression of like how things should
Mhm.
be happening. So yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty consistent throughout all of these,
Hmm.
the trilogy that we're playing through, just because of how cinematic the games are developed. And, it's pretty well known that Hideo Kojima is a massive, like, film nerd
Yeah, he has a
and
Western
loves
movie
cinema.
fetish,
Yeah,
as in just
loves
Hollywood.
Western movies, also loves, spaghetti Westerns and all of the different forms of cinema, I guess. And it's very apparent with the way that he structures the story
Yeah.
and the cinematics in the story, and then how he blends the gameplay into that wider narrative.
Hmm.
And like you said, it's very well paced, very tight. You're moving from set piece to set piece, interblocked with these, fairly long cutscenes, especially for the time, and
Yeah.
they just
Yeah.
get longer
Exactly.
through
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
games. But it really does help to immerse you in the story. I can only imagine what it felt like to play it when it initially like came out, because essentially you're just playing through, an action spy thriller. It's like very much reminiscent of the like biggest movies of the time, with like a Mission Impossible or a James Bond kind of uh, super spy espionage stuff, but it's also mixed with a bunch of like cybernetic, weird kind of paranormal, Ghost in the Shell stuff.
Hmm.
It's a really unique blend of genres and
Yeah.
influences, which creates a really engaging world, and a lot of rich thematic language used,
Hmm.
and kind of symbological, uh, like, I guess, just story frameworks. It's a very ambitious game, as we continue to say, but it's really worth celebrating it for it, I
Hmm.
think.
No, yeah, the like just comparisons to like movies, like it's sort of undeniable, and like the, if you want to talk about the, or just say like the evolution of Kojima, how it's like reflected in these games, it's like from my understanding, by the point we get to like Death Stranding, that's just like basically a full blown movie. It's just with some gameplay in
Hmm.
between, is
Right.
eventually where it gets to. Um, but like yeah, like each game in this series becomes more and more heavily like a movie when it comes to the cutscenes, and maybe the length of them, but just in like the way that they're like the consideration of how they're shot, and like even like how they're lit, and like made to resemble Hollywood films and
Hmm.
stuff. And there's the occasional reference here and there, which I have a few examples in my notes.
Hmm.
So
There's
yeah.
probably thousands and
No, I
thousands out
know,
there, but
because yeah, that's the
yeah.
other thing these games are known for, is that they have a lot of intricate details and like Easter eggs,
Hmm.
which is pretty cool. I tried replicating some of them, mostly in the second game, to partial success.
Hmm.
And yeah, they're known for those Easter eggs, and the I don't know, the fans I think that's cool, and so do I. They're not necessarily things that like are gonna make or break the experience. Like, does a game have a billion Easter eggs? They're just kind of cool things like on top if you already enjoy a thing, and it has all these extra details attached to them. It's like, okay, now it goes from cool to really cool, rather than just from
Hmm.
okay to cool, if that makes sense. Um, so yeah, I don't know if we want to just how to tackle the rest of the. Should we just get the jank out of the way, and like the controls are weird even for me in my
Yeah.
regular controller setup, because it's like, I don't know, it's a top down perspective, but it's also has guns that they want you to shoot at people. And like I
Hmm.
think in this one and the second one, if you don't like take the time to properly aim in a certain way, it will like auto headshot, or at least that's how it is
Hmm.
in the second game. Not that I figured that out. I watched a couple of speedruns of these games because I like legit had no idea how to play them really, because I'm just sort of going in with
Exactly.
like no preconceived knowledge of how they actually work. mechanically, and I was surprised and also annoyed at various moments. And like that first like required combat encounter, man, it's like it's when you're in the little prison cell with the DARPA chief who's disguised
Oh
as
my God,
the
yeah,
octopus,
yep.
and then Meryl gets
No,
you
I
out,
know what you're talking
and
about.
then it's
Yep.
like you just jump right into it, and you have to
And
fight
there's just
like
waves of enemies that you
yeah,
have to shoot
it's
down.
so it's really easy, right? But like if you're doing it
Right.
for the first time, it took me like 10 tries or some shit
Yeah.
absurd like that. It was
No,
like
I died like 3 times, maybe 5. Like it's the controls are so
it's
unintuitive that
so
it
weird.
honestly made me bounce off the game at first. Like
Yeah.
I remember talking about it in our podcasters,
Uh-huh.
but like I couldn't get into the game at the first time.
No, yeah.
So it took you to actually, dive in to get me to, force myself to learn how this
Oh,
game
did you try
plays.
these like a
And
long time ago, and then once I played them, you're like, yeah,
I,
fuck, I
I
guess I'll get back
I've
into them.
started the game once
Oh,
and
okay.
then twice before, and then on my third time I
You
finally
both have
made
your
it
fuck
through.
this.
Yeah, because it's like you said, the gunplay is just abysmal.
Yeah,
Where
it's
yeah,
tough to learn. Like especially if you're like adjusted to, like I'm used to games just working and like the X button does this smack move, and if I press it a couple times, it'll hit them multiple times. It'll be a combo or whatever. And if I'm shooting guns, then I hold this button down and it'll aim, and I can maybe move around if that's a thing. But those are usually first person or third person things. As a top down game, yeah, like the shooting is weird, especially when you consider like there's like not just the horizontal like where you have to line
right,
your shot, but also the
yeah,
verticality of it, which really only comes into play on certain weapons, in which case they like lock you to first person mode when you equip those. So it's like not as big a deal all of the time, but it's still it takes some getting used to, definitely. Like
hmm
that first moment, I was like, oh god, this shit is so like I knew this game was going to be a pain in the butt. Like the second, like it's like an hour or two in,
yeah,
it's like the first combat encounter. I'm like, I know this game's going to be a pain, and it sort of
yeah.
was with the boss fight specifically, and some other moments which I don't know if we should just get that out of the way, all the negative, and then just gush about
Yeah,
everything
sure.
else. I don't know.
Because like it's basically all of like the combat is the weakest part for me.
Definitely.
Because there's also you're not just shooting, but you're also doing melee combat, and specifically for the cyborg ninja boss fight, that is like almost entirely hand to hand combat.
Yeah.
And there is what's it called? CD something. They have a specific kind of phrase for the
Oh, CQC
melee
in the third
combat.
game.
CQC, that's it. Yeah.
Did they talk? Did they
And
mention that in one or two?
they do. They mention it
Oh,
all of
really?
them, and there are
I didn't
things you
catch
can
that.
do. There are like intricate like controls that you can have to like sweep an enemy and like tabletop them or like
Right.
get up behind them and choke them out
Yeah.
or stuff like that. And that's even present in the first one, but because the controls are so whack,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
really not
It's
apparent.
hard to
And
figure it out unless like you read a guide or watch a video about it. Yeah.
exactly.
Or you're
Like
just
nothing
completely
about it
fucking
is
around with the
explained
buttons.
is explained in game, which is kind of cool. It's very much a product of the time, but it makes it much, much more difficult.
Hmm.
And especially in that boss fight where the bosses have a kind of an insane amount of health. It takes
Yeah, they take a
a
minute.
decent amount of time to get through, and they do a lot of damage. So depending on how unlucky you are with your, just your luck of what kind of strings of attacks the bosses kind of throw out to you, or if you're just unlucky with how, a game from 1998 decides to treat your hitboxes or whatever,
Hmm.
it can be very frustrating. Cyborg Ninja, I think, took me the most attempts
Oh,
just
really?
because I don't know, something about him running away and then you having to like
Did you have the thermal goggles by
avoid
that
him.
point, or did you not?
I I don't think I did. I
Okay,
wasn't
that
like it
probably
was
makes
never a
it tougher.
problem with me like tracking him down
Yeah,
because he
you can sort
only
of see it.
gets through his invisibility
Hmm.
later on in the fight. But it was just the kind of the grind of trying to whittle down his
No, I
health,
know.
getting from phase to phase, and then him, taking his time, and it only took him like 3 attacks to really take you down to critical range. And you're like,
No,
well,
yeah, I know.
that's a
Yeah,
lot of fun.
I get that.
And
Cause
at all this time, you're fighting the most jank controls in my
yeah,
case.
you're
So
fighting on two fronts: the controls and
mhm.
then the actual fight in game. um, And yeah, like when I think of boss fights in gaming, in theory, they are testing the player, like the player's knowledge and making sure that they're interacting with like all of the game's mechanics that have been shown sort of up to that point, or even like introduced ones that have been like introduced most recently. And when I think of the boss fights in this game, they are all sort of utilizing varying like different things are required to defeat each of them. It's
Yeah,
not just like,
they
oh,
focus on
okay,
different mechanics.
I shoot the same gun at
Hmm.
the enemy every time, and that's how I win. You know what I mean? Like the methods that you need to use vary to each one of them for the most part. The
Hmm.
only ones that are like require the like same exact strategy more or less are the Metal Gear and the helicopter. 'Cause they both
Right.
are just like
Yeah.
that one. What it was it called, the Nikita, or is the Nikita the slow
Yeah.
moving missile one? I forget.
I think Nikita is the one that you're able to maneuver by yourself, and
Oh,
the
okay.
javelin is the one that shoots like a RPG or whatever.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Um,
that one.
but yeah, like you said, the boss fights are honestly the bosses and the boss fights are some of the most standout moments for me in the entire game. Despite how much the problems that I have with
Yeah.
the gameplay and all that, they are all offering really unique kind of combat situations where you have to utilize different game mechanics that are
Hmm.
already introduced to you, whether that be having to deal with Ocelot's ricochet
Yeah.
and kind of trying to you can use your smoke bombs to distract him, or you can just kind of run and gun if you're good enough.
Yeah. The best ones have like multiple ways of dealing with him, like Ocelot or the Vulcan Raven
Raven,
later in
yeah,
the
that
game,
was
where
it.
like you could use the
Mhm,
mines and also grenades and also the Nikita.
exactly.
The
And the
ones I
amount of
like the
like
least are like the helicopter and the Metal Gear ones. It kind of
yeah,
they just took so long for me. Like they weren't too challenging. Like it was just more of an annoyance, and if anything, for the Metal Gear one especially, of like I shoot it and then now I
oh
throw out
my
my
god,
shaft
yeah,
grenade and now
yeah,
I shoot it
that
and then
was
I
not
throw
a
out
fun
my
one.
shaft grenade.
Hmm.
You know, it's like over and over again.
Yep, yep. And then you have to be at the proper distance because otherwise he's gonna
Yeah.
like stomp on you, which insta kills you, or you have to be far enough away so then the tracking rockets can't track you.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's a bit of a slog to try and get through that fight, especially because if you get through, I think that fight has like three phases, and if you
Something
get
like
to the
that,
third
and one
one,
of
you
them
die
has
in the
like an
third one.
unskippable cutscene
Yep,
in between
cutscene.
it
Oh
where
my
it takes
god,
up Gray Fox, and it's like, yeah, I know.
and it's like a 5 minute
It's an
cutscene,
old
or
video
like,
game thing of like I can't
oh
skip the
god,
cutscenes like
yeah,
after dying. You know what I mean? It's just like just bring me
and you
straight
don't even
there.
give me a checkpoint
Yeah,
afterwards.
like
So
I'm
yeah,
spoiled by Cuphead when it comes to literally every boss fight ever, where it shows me, oh, here's how far I was. And it, I mean, most games indicate like a health bar or something, but some don't. Like straight up. And some games have like multiple health bars or whatever, so it could be even like harder to figure it out. And then yeah, for Cuphead, it's like it just instantly sets you to the start, no cutscenes, no nothing. It's just okay, you're back, you know. And it's just most games don't do that, and I wish they did because that would be nice. But instead, I gotta
it would be
fucking
nice.
watch the cutscene again. That's why I can never
Yeah.
play Dark Souls or any of those games. Because I have to
Mm,
what's the phrase? They have a phrasing for it because it's so common. The walk back or something.
Souls like, oh yeah, the boss run. Yeah,
The
that can be especially upsetting when you lose all your progress enough. You obviously lose the boss, and then you have to
yeah,
have
yeah,
like a 20-minute run up. It's very,
the run up.
it's
That's what it's
just,
called.
yeah, it's very much just pure pain. Like there's no real reason to have it
Yeah,
in a game,
I mean the Dark
and
Souls
it's
ones.
just frustrating.
Yeah, like it makes the most sense because I think some players like that. Honestly, I feel like that's part of the that makes the actually defeating them that much more satisfying. That I don't have to rerun down this hallway for the 500th time. You know what I mean?
I guess yeah,
Like
it
it
somewhat
just
adds
adds
to
to the
that.
satisfaction of actually defeating them. Like I mean
Yeah,
you're a
well,
Souls
yeah,
like
as someone who has played
enjoyer.
through all of them, I don't agree with that. I can understand why maybe some players
I'm just saying
might
that.
feel that it adds like another level of satisfaction. However, I think that the majority
Yeah,
of
most people are
players
probably annoyed by it.
were very glad when in Elden Ring you were able to just have a checkpoint before every
Oh really?
boss, and they really cut down on all of those boss runs. So it seems like even
That's nice.
FromSoft is like, yeah, we're
Aware
not
that
going to
it's
do that.
shitty.
Yeah, yeah.
That makes sense.
And it's nothing so bad in Metal Gear where like
Yeah.
you're
No,
gonna
yeah.
always start at the beginning of the boss
Yeah,
fight.
there's checkpoints
However,
all the time also just like throughout
yeah,
each of these games. You
oh,
basically
there's
like when you
tons.
die, and I died a lot at least throughout each of these. And they'll just spawn you in like the most recent room you entered at like the start of it. And for bosses, more or less, it's just for the most part, it's at the start of the boss fight. Is just that like my one complaint for these sets of games is just that the Metal Gear fight in the first game, where it has
Yeah.
the unskippable cutscene halfway through. I think it was
In the
unskippable.
multi-phase fights, it's a little hard.
Okay.
It's definitely unskippable.
Okay.
It's 1,000%
You remember?
unskippable. I tried. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that
I
was
tried also.
not fun.
Yeah.
Uh,
But
I guess
the
others.
Vulcan Raven was probably my favorite in terms of the fights, just because of like the
I agree.
sheer like amount of
Yeah,
things you could do. Like, but like it was still annoying. You know what I mean? Like it
yeah.
was my favorite, but I still didn't. I wouldn't even say if I enjoyed it really.
It's really impressive the amount of interactivity that he has with the crates and kind of cutting
Yeah,
down on your traversal, and then you have to kind of use that with your missile launcher. It's all a very kind of clever and the most engaging boss fight, I think.
definitely. Yeah,
Psycho
because I don't
Mantis
know.
was
I don't know
also
how
a cool
most
one.
people feel about. I mean, really, any of these games in general. But like, I don't know who is considered a good boss fight in these games or not. Like,
That's true. I don't.
I don't know.
Psycho Mantis is the one that like
He
most
sticks
people know
out.
just because of that kind of fourth wall breaking element to it,
Yeah,
where he's a psychic and so he can read into your actual game systems. And although
in the
it
older versions
isn't,
of the
yeah,
game, he
it
could like
was
say if you were playing a particular other game based on your
right.
save data, which
Yeah,
is really cool. The only
yeah,
other
it
game that
is.
I know did Doki Doki Literature Club do that, or
They do
did they
something similar, yeah, when
of like
they
other games
start
on Steam
breaking
that you
into the
have?
AR like augmented reality kind of stuff. I think the more contemporary game Inscription, that kind of roguelike card deck one, also has similar elements,
Oh,
and
does it?
it is a very cool element to a game when they can kind of break the fourth wall and address you as a player,
Hmm.
and that starts to happen a ton throughout these games, although maybe not as much in the third one, Snake Eater.
Yeah,
But it's definitely a
it
unique
does sort of
charm
play
to
into
these
like the
games.
player versus character
Hmm.
experience in at least one specific moment.
Yeah. And I think that's why Psycho Mantis, stayed as such a iconic boss, despite his actual boss fight not really being
Yeah,
that
his boss
engaging.
fight sucks. Like
It did suck. Just like him throwing random
like
objects at
it's
you
yeah,
and you
it's
just having
cool.
to
It's
dodge
vaguely
it.
interesting because in the
It's more
when
like a
you
bullet hell kind of thing
I
where you
guess
just kind of
yeah,
dodge his
it's
projectiles and then
mhm.
shoot him. However, because of how dated it is, you're just like waiting for his cooldown and then shooting him and then running away, trying to dodge. But the tracking on his projectiles is fucking insane. I definitely died quite a few times
Oh
just
really?
because it's
I want to
throwing
say
a
he was
big
one of
ass chair
the
that fucking zeroes in on you
easier.
like a fucking heat-seeking missile. Pissed me off. It didn't take too many times, but
Okay.
it's definitely one of the more jank elements.
Yeah, because the way
Jake
you have to
Boss
do
fights.
it is on the original thing. You had to plug in your uh,
Right. Mhm.
fucking controller
Your controller
from player
into
one into the player two jack
right.
of it, so he
Mhm.
like couldn't read your moves. And like I thought that was a really cool, awesome idea. That's like stuff like that. Like it's difficult to pull off because if it was there like all the time, it would be annoying. But just because it exists in like this one case, in this
Mhm.
one scenario, in this one random video game, it's pretty cool. And in the Metal Gear Master Collection or whatever, there's not really we don't really plug in controllers anymore for
Mhm.
the stuff most of the time. So like within the menus of the Master Collection, there's a way to like swap from P1 to P2, which its
Mhm.
only purpose is that. I think there are like various moments where like if you have a controller plugged into the P2 port and like mess around with it at certain points in at least one of these games, something else happens as like an Easter egg.
Mhm.
I think that's the only point of it though, within the context of these games.
Yeah. There are those weird kind of uh, like the fourth wall breaking elements where like they're referencing a code that is on the back of your game
No, yeah,
card or
yeah. I
whatever,
wanted to bring
and
that
it's like,
up
well, I
also.
don't have that anymore. So you kind of have to do your due diligence of like, oh yeah, what the hell am I supposed to kind of, you're trying to find out this radio frequency, and it's like, yeah, look on the back of your key
The
manual,
CD
or like the CD. I'm
that
like,
they
I don't
gave you.
have
So
that.
I thought like, oh, if I open my inventory and scroll to
Mhm.
it, there will be like a description of it or something. But no, it's literally on the back of the box for
Yep.
the game that it comes in. And it was on that way for the original, and even like I have the physical copy on PS5.
Hmm.
And on the back of that one, for like it shows like images of each of the games, and the image for Metal Gear Solid One that it shows is the
Has
Merrill
the,
frequency
yeah, code
call.
on the back. Yep.
And then the Metal Gear remastered, the whatever, the Master Collection,
Mhm.
it has a manual, like in case you bought
Yep.
it digitally, where you could open the manual and then flip it to the back. It's basically just like the front and cover, like the
Hmm.
front and back covers of the original game. And I even saw, I watched Scott the Woz, and he has the second channel called Scott Stash. And
Hmm.
on it, he reviewed the PlayStation. What was it called? The PlayStation Classic, which is
Hmm.
like the mini console thing. And like even on the back of that box, Metal Gear Solid, like the little image they use for that is the Merrill frequency code. So it seems like
Yeah.
every version that this game has been put on, they will include that somehow in some way.
Hmm.
So I think like the lengths of like the dedication to that of like how they, because they can't like predict like when they're making this game. Like they'll ship it onto like the whatever the physical box when it first comes out, but then like they had no idea that would be on all of these other systems, you know, like
Hmm.
throughout the years. So that to know that it's like seemingly on every like release of it is pretty cool. But yeah, like if you don't
It
know
is.
any of that, it's just a matter of like in the modern day looking it up, that most people tell you. Which that's the other thing about this game that it does slightly differently, not a huge detail. But this one, it has you like when you do the codec calls for the first time, usually they'll like tell you what it is, and then you have to manually put it in once, and then
Hmm.
they'll be registered into like this list of like saved calls, so you don't have to manually swap the frequency, and it'll just be like within your saved people contacts. But in the second and third games, you don't have to do that. Like they'll just be saved immediately. Like there's no like manually swapping it at all, which I thought was interesting because I don't know how it is in one if like you just don't write it down or immediately do it while you remember if you're just kind of like completely screwed at a certain things. I think most of them are optional, you know,
Yeah.
or like
I
the required
definitely
ones
forgot
will
many of
contact
them.
you. You
Yep.
know what I mean?
I definitely forgot many of them,
Oh really?
and I was
Did
forced
you
to
not
just
write
look
them
them up.
down, or
I
did you
did
just
not
look them
write them
up?
down. And so there were moments where it's like, oh yeah, call me at this
How do I
frequency,
call
and then
Natasha? How she's
the
supposed to know how
dialogue
to defeat
ends,
this
and you're like,
weapon?
well, yeah. So, now
You
we're
made do
fortunate
with
enough
it,
where all of this information is
right?
available online, so
Hmm.
it's not that difficult to
Yeah,
figure yourself through like such an
yeah. There's
old
literally
game.
an IGN page of
Um,
like here's all the codec
right.
frequencies in the game.
And so that makes it a lot more easy to play through, where you
Hmm.
don't have to be quite so engaged. Although I understand that's probably why many people fell in love with the game in the first place, is because it's such like a kind of intricate and detailed experience where, oh, you have to actually like get your pen and paper out or go to the box and actually like engage with your own controls and
Yeah,
switch them around. It makes for a really fun and unique experience that was definitely unlike anything else at the time
yeah.
in '98.
And I think it's
And
cool that despite how technology has changed since then, that it's still like mostly replicable. Like the thing about like the Psycho Mantis fight and like how he's talking about like the games that you've played in your library or whatever. Like it's also like fully voice acted, so like it's
yeah.
just that many more lines that like a person has to say. But like even though that doesn't exist on the modern systems, which is unfortunate, it would be cool if like they like brought it back somehow and it
Hmm.
sounded somewhat accurate to the original, and it instead like used modern games made in like the future, even though you know these games technically come out in the years they were released or like around then, I think, except for the third game, which is a prequel. um so yeah, I don't know, that would be cool if it was in the newer ones at all. um
Hmm.
but it is not, unfortunately. But the other things still are like the, yeah, Merrill back of the box codex call, or the other thing in Psycho Mantis where you got to swap the controller ports. Was there any like major sort of meta things like that in the first game, or is that mostly it?
Um, I can't remember any that stick
Yeah.
out besides those ones. Although they are kind of always, tugging at the fourth wall and the curtain, in order to just kind of add to the experience. But as you're speaking about, the voice acting, I kind of wanted to
Oh yeah.
transition into speaking about the characters,
Oh yeah.
because I think throughout, like the voice
Great
acting
cast.
is a standout, and it really adds to the whole experience because everything is voice acted.
The characters are
You
great in
have
all
your
of these.
yeah, and you have your codec calls, which allow you to get kind of a first person or portrait perspective
Hmm.
of all of the characters that you're going to be having real discussions with. And, the art is fantastic.
Yeah, I
Gets
love the
you
way that
some,
they're each stylized and like
yeah,
stylized differently. And like the third game,
and there's
it
some
like
animation with it. Yeah.
yeah, since it's a prequel, that like the technology is weaker, so you don't get that full like
Mhm.
video to video, which is something you're sort of missing out on. But like it fits within that game. Plus, you already had the first two to have like that face to face sort of thing going on. And yeah, I'd say like the codec calls and just the story in general are sort of like the highlights of at least the first game, since like the gameplay is so sort of jank and weak at points.
Mhm.
The character writing and the voice acting that accompanies it is so consistently good across all of these. Only by the third game are there like some of the codec people where I'm like not as into them. I
Mhm.
would say like this first one, it has the most amount of them I think that you contact throughout the game, and it also has like my favorite that group of contacts, I guess if you
Yeah.
could say that. Not to
Yeah, I
say
think
like
the
overall
codec
cast of characters, but just like for the codec call specifically, I felt like they were the strongest, maybe in this one.
I think it was like the definitely more of like a gameplay focus in the first one.
Yeah, it mattered
Kind
more
of
a little
takes a
bit for
step
me.
back in the second and third,
Hmm.
but it was more integral for the gameplay experience in the first one. And then, as you said, I think the cast is maybe the strongest in this one with the kind of context you're trying to connect with. Um, but as we were talking about the story, it does blend together all of these characters into a really cohesive through line. But the actual if you're trying to explain the story of any of these Metal Gear
It's
games
tricky.
to a random person, it's very tricky.
Sure.
These are very campy. They're very strange. They're very messy.
They're
The
convoluted.
narratives go everywhere. They're incredibly convoluted, due in part to the super spy thriller
Yeah.
angle that they're trying to
Hmm. It's
create the
all about
narrative
like
with.
world destruction is happening, and these are people
Yeah.
on certain sides, and there's all these keywords and code names
Yep.
people are going by, and this
So many
person is
code
now a
names.
traitor to this person, and this person is now this person who was
Yep.
established to be somebody else, but now they're the same person.
And
Stuff
these
like
are
that.
just, tropes of
The
spy thrillers
genres,
in
yeah.
general. But you also have all of the kind of paranormal and weird, like campy elements where you have Snake, but he's a clone of older Snake,
Hmm.
and then there's another clone who is an evil clone who is trying to,
Yeah, that part feels more like
world
Japanese
domination
than
and all
like
that shit.
Western media stuff. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know if you got that vibe, but it's
Yeah,
more
it's
like an
definitely.
anime thing than like because that's the
Mhm.
thing. Like it definitely is that like inspired upon Western films, but like I still do get some like a certain twist of like anime type
Oh,
shenanigans.
absolutely. And if we're
It,
speaking about characters that kind of
yeah,
I
I know where you're
exemplify
going.
that. There's a certain character, Otakon, but there's
Oh
also
yeah.
Meryl, who I
Otacon. Yeah, I
think
was gonna say
is
Meryl. I have at least three
Meryl is
points in
yeah,
my notes where they mentioned talking
mhm,
about her butt,
yeah,
which like
at
you
least
know,
or how she walks or like yeah, it's
misogyny
like what are
aside,
we?
like it's to me it's funny within the context of this first game where it's
Mhm.
literally just a bunch of pixels. You know, so it's
It is
like
incredibly yeah, it's
it's just
extremely
like
funny.
I can't even be like too upset or mad about it really because it's
Yeah,
like okay, you know,
it's the
like
same
whatever.
kind of appeal to Laura
Croft in
Croft
the
and
original Tomb
her
Raider,
yeah the
sure,
triangle
yeah.
titties. It's like, okay, yeah, this is really horny and very strange, but there's enough disconnect because you are looking at like 5 pixels total.
Yeah, yeah,
It
five
makes it more
polygons.
humorous than weird. Yeah. But there are definitely strange dated elements and like weird humor
Sure.
throughout all of these games. It's maybe most blatant in one with
Yeah, the second
Meryl.
one's sort of absent from like those moments, and then the third one with Eva, it sort of amps it up to like an even higher degree somehow. I
Even
feel
higher
like.
degree, but also strangely more in line with the tone of the games. It's really strange, and
Maybe.
we'll talk about that more. But I don't know if I like Meryl as a character. I
She
think
was okay.
she's okay. Like I like how they weave her into the story for the most part.
Yeah, she's
But she
like
really is
sort
just
of
like
on
a
your side, and then
damsel.
she's like disguised as a guard and like doing her own
Yeah,
thing, sort of, and then she teams up with you, and then she sort of gets
she's
damseled eventually.
yeah, because she's the colonel's
Yeah,
niece,
grand
and
was it niece or grand
I
niece? I
think
think. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
or like it's some sort of
It was
relation
niece.
to
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
them. Yeah, all of the different relationships each of these characters have is so messy and convoluted. If we're talking about like Naomi and her brother, who is Gray Fox, who
Yeah,
ends up becoming Cyborg
who
Ninja
was like one
because
of the
of
villains in the
the
first in like
Fox
either
out.
Metal
Yeah,
Gear 1 or Metal
exactly.
Gear
And
1
we're
or
going
2,
back in
which
time
was
to the
I
prequels.
think these games also, because they serve as like it's like a rebranding sequel thing of like the Metal Gear 1 and 2. I don't know if I want to, if I played those briefly, if we want to just mention that they exist. Did you ever check these
Yeah,
out or bother?
I
Or like
didn't.
I played them
Yeah.
very briefly. They are complete ass. They are some of the worst like video games experiences I've
Oh,
had.
shit.
Like
Okay.
if you thought Metal Gear Solid 1 was jank, just like try Metal Gear 1 or 2. Like the second one is
Okay.
slightly better, but it's just
Hmm.
like it's such a piece of absolute bogus. I guess I recommend the AVGN episode on it, because I think he
Hmm.
beats at least one of them. Because it's like it's 2D top down, and you go from like screen to screen trying to like either avoid enemies or take them out, and like
Hmm.
I don't even know what the hell's going on. It just like gets you in right there. There's like a codec call that you get, but if you like press the wrong button or wait slightly too long, like it'll just go away. I had no idea what the fuck any of the controls were, so it's like I just missed
Hmm.
that call
Hmm.
immediately right off the bat.
So any instruction on what you're
No,
supposed to be
yeah,
doing is just
yeah,
completely
it's
lost.
completely
But oh,
gone.
fun.
Like, oh, I guess I don't know what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
Not that you need it, because again, you're just going from screen to screen. Like, it's just so easy to get lost. Like, you start off in the jungle and you try to get into like a warehouse building thing that I couldn't even get to, because it's like every time you die, there's no lives or anything. It's just if you die, you go back to the beginning, and you have such
Jesus.
a small amount of health. It's like
Yeah.
it's just complete bogus. And the second game, I
Mhm.
think they give you a little bit more health, and there's a little bit more. It's a little bit more clear what you're supposed to do slightly, because at least you get like an intro cutscene. They don't force, like they don't have you like just drop in and then have the codec call. It's like I think it's like as you start the game, it's like here's the mission briefing or whatever. And it's yeah, it's slightly better, but it's still sort of more or less the same. I think that I gave that one even less time, because I'm like, fucking, I don't want to deal
Yeah.
with
They
this
don't
shit.
really
I was just
compare with these
curious about
games.
them, if
Yeah.
anything.
That's
But
like a
I think it's
cultural
really
history.
cool how the first game specifically, because 2 and 3 don't really care at all about Metal Gear, and Metal Gear 2,
Mm.
Snake's Revenge is the subtitle of that. But the first game specifically, like I don't know if you ever looked at it, but in like the menu for the game, it had like some sort of option to see like to like read about the plots of the first two games and like the
Mhm.
background info on that. So then by the time like Gray Fox like was mentioned again, I was like, oh shit, that's the dude from such and such place that I remembered at the time, that like the first either one or two or both of them took place.
Mhm.
And like info about that, and then there was also some sort of like video screening about like Snake being what's it, questioned, interrogated by
Mhm.
the colonel or somebody about something before the events of Metal Gear Solid. So they have like a cool way, I think, of setting it up and like not like setting something new and refreshing and like sort of a clean slate, while also
Mhm.
paying homage in a strong way to the originals, if that makes sense.
Mhm. Mhm.
Which I think that's really cool. Something that the first game specifically did, because again, they sort of care less and less about the original Metal Gear games and just sort of focus on like what has been established in Solid, which I get it, because they pretty much did everything that could have been done, I guess, with Metal Gear 1 and 2. 'Cause, you know, you don't want to
Mhm.
be just relying on those for random plot threads the whole time, I guess. So, but it was a
Yeah.
cool that they did it, I think.
Yeah, these games definitely pull from like each one in the series and adds like a lot of context to, what might be throwaway moments or characters, and just adds a ton more mostly convoluted context to a lot of like whatever
Yeah,
is
yeah. Because
happening
like
in
if you
each
don't read
story.
any of that, like it's sort of
Yeah.
explained in the game, but it's quick, and yeah, it's gonna seem like convoluted. Of like Gray Fox died on this mission in blah 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 place. That's place Snake went to because of these reasons. Like you're getting that all at once, versus like
Yeah.
naturally throughout. Like in theory, if you were to play Metal Gear and then Metal Gear 2 Snake's Revenge and then this game, Like it would sort of balance out, and like it would make more sense to you rather than just like here in this one cutscene for 5 minutes we're explaining all the plot of these two games.
Hmm. Yeah,
So I get what
because
you're saying there.
there's like you get the introduction to Foxhound, and then you also I don't even know if the Patriots are mentioned in the first one, but
Uh,
then all of this is then like recontextualized in two with the
yeah, two
introduction of
goes
the
more into
Patriots,
that.
and then in three you get the prequel to all of these, and then you get to hear about like the Pilgrims, and there's just constant story one-upmanship when it comes to, oh yeah, you thought you knew this, but what if
There's
we
actually
spun
this
it
person
and
all
then
along doing this.
yeah, and this character was actually uh, you know harkens back to this character
Hmm.
from this game.
Yeah.
And it makes it so fucking hard to like try and
No, yeah, it's
really
confusing.
comprehend the like a linear timeline. But if you're not really trying to take in the nitty gritty details of everything that's happening, it's really more of just like a visceral experience where you're just like in the game with the story and it's just blasting away at you. It kind of helps with that pacing where everything is constantly going forward, so you don't
Yeah.
have enough time to really be like, well, what am I doing here? What are these characters doing? What is Foxhound? What is the mission that I'm on? Like,
Hmm.
what is Shadow Moses? What is the Metal Gear? And instead it's more of just
I
like
kind
a
of like how
fun
some of
visceral
that's vague
experience.
though, and like not
Hmm.
directly explained to you. Like in the
Yeah.
collection, there's this Metal Gear Archive thing, which I think has a timeline, and then also like goes character by character and like concept by concept and stuff. Um, Sort of like a glossary of like here's various terms and like people and groups brought up throughout the games, which is cool, and it was a nice read through. And yeah, like it is that convoluted. Like to me, it's a good balance of like convoluted, but stuff like it still makes sense moment to moment. I feel like for the most part, and like the exact handling of like now this person is in control and now this person is like a traitor and stuff like that. I think they're overall like pretty well handled within the story, and like the acting and writing, like they both deliver on that. And like those moments, like even if they can be like drawn as like tropes seen throughout plenty of the inspirations of this like the story of this trilogy of games. It's like it's still a good example of each of these sort of tropes seen throughout them.
Mhm. I think Metal Gear Solid 1 honestly is the best and most coherent,
Yeah.
just because it's not, it's mostly original. It's not taken from a bunch of different games. Metal Gear Solid 2 is probably the worst, and we'll, delve into it with how much it, adds and the
Yeah, that one
amount of
lost me in a
exposition.
lot more places than
Yeah.
the first one.
The-
Like it felt like yeah, I think the first game had that perfect balance of like cohesive but convoluted sometimes. And yeah, it loses my like me a little bit by the second game, and then the third game it sort of weaves in and out of that where there's parts where I'm like completely
yeah, yeah,
fine, that's
fully agree.
normal, and then like by the end it's just like we're having so many things like just unravel at the end. I don't
These
know if you got
games
that.
has somewhat of a problem with exposition because of how ambitious Kojima is with his storytelling.
Hmm.
It all has to be explained in sometimes very awkward and bloated cutscenes where characters are just speaking on a bunch of things that you may not even be able to remember.
Yeah, yeah.
But first one is definitely the most consistent and coherent, I think.
Hmm.
Um,
I agree.
and I enjoyed it for that. It made it a much more uh, you know concise experience because it is so quick and you're just constantly
Yeah,
going
it's the
forward.
shortest out of all of them.
And the mission is a little more understandable because you're just trying to stop Liquid from and Ocelot from getting Metal Gear and launching the end of the world or whatever, World War III.
Essentially, yeah.
It's kind of a similar conflict in all of these games,
Yeah, like someone that will
where
end the world, but you have to
yeah,
go in and
exactly.
infiltrate on your own, sort of.
Yeah. It's
But
it's
like,
very similar to a James Bond or a Mission
yeah,
Impossible
sure.
kind of like conflict where evil organization tries to take over the world or
Hmm.
whatever. But it works because you're not really worried about the overall narrative. It's much more about the characters that you're engaging with, both through Snake and then all of the other side characters that I think are all, you know, I enjoy all of them. I think the bosses are pretty well explored in
Yeah,
these
they're the
ones.
most memorable in terms of like character, and like most video games when they give me like all of the character like backstory as they're dying, I'm like, this is complete bogus. I hate it and it's stupid.
Yep.
But in this
Yep.
game, I'm sort of like, okay, sure. Like I
Hmm.
accept it, and I'm like, I'm cool with most of these characters, like, because like most of the games that like other also try to do this stuff, they're very much more anime, and they have like these
Hmm.
overly edgy villains for like 99% of the game. And then you like get their health bar to 0, but they're still alive in like the cutscene after, and they're just sort of dying
Hmm.
for like the next 5 minutes. And they just like lore dump you or like try to touch your feels somehow,
Hmm.
and it's just
Hmm.
complete bogus. But at the very least, for like Psycho Mantis and like I guess Sniper Wolf and like
Hmm.
I don't know if there were anything else. Vulcan Raven is not really redeemable, sort of, but he still
Yeah,
has
it's
like a good like
mostly short.
outro cutscene
Yeah,
attached with
a
him.
very memorable one where he gets torn apart by his own ravens, which is kind of metal,
No, no,
and
yeah,
adds to his character.
yeah.
But yeah, I think
The
the
like yeah,
villains
the
are
boss
definitely the
characters were the
strongest in the
strongest in
first one.
this.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, exactly.
And we'll talk about the ones and two and three,
Hmm.
but they're definitely
They
less
do interesting
memorable.
things with them too, with the meta sort of aspect of it.
Mhm.
And then 3, it's sort of just like, to me, it's just a worse version of what we have in the first game, with that
Yeah,
like that meta spin on it
despite
that 2 has.
not to mention boss, we'll get to her and the other
Oh yeah,
villains,
sure.
but I
There's
think
exceptions
yeah,
to
the
that,
overall
but
cast is
generally,
the strongest in the first one.
yeah,
Mhm.
definitely. Um,
Other standouts, I think, the soundtrack is just iconic.
yeah,
The like,
there's
I
only
think
like 6 songs or some shit in the first
they
game. Like
loop a
it's
lot,
very
and
small.
it very much gets in your head.
Yeah, yeah.
But they're so it's not like
It's
it
very
that irritating
recognizable.
at
Yeah,
any
that's one of few
time.
things I knew
It's just
about
surprising.
before from Smash, because they were
Hmm.
in some of the cutscenes and that, and also the stage. So yeah,
Yeah, and I like the kind of weird touches where it's like, oh, if you die, then you have your codec members screaming, and
I
it
love that so
Snake!
much.
It's so
It
good.
made me like sort of be okay with dying, because it's
Yeah.
just this funny like exaggerative like, yeah,
Hmm.
like they're yelling for his life. It's
And then
as far as game over screens go, it's definitely one of like the better ones across gaming
it's
in
very
general.
iconic. You
Like
have
it's
your
so
game
good, and
over
I
kind of
love the
flash on
sound
the
that like
screen.
Snake
Hmm.
makes is like echoed
Yeah.
last cry.
Yeah. No,
It's so
it's
good.
great. And it makes it a little more bearable when you go up against a hallway full of goons and you get shot down 5 times in a row. You just like each time you have a different character
Yeah,
kind of
can we
scream
talk
after you.
about because we didn't mention the stair section. That was a
Oh my
complete
God.
pile of ass when you're
Jesus
trying to go
Christ.
climb up the building to fight the
Yeah.
helicopter dude or whatever.
Yeah. And it's
It's
kind of
just
funny
such a
because it's
bastard. It
like
was like 2
there's
minutes
no
long.
way. Yeah. And in each of these games, it was always like some kind of weird reality bending structure where you just have to climb for like 5 minutes straight. But yeah, in this one, because this is one of the places where there was, was there even one checkpoint? I can't remember.
No,
I'm not sure. I
no.
think you
It
just
was
have to
just once you reach the
crawl from the
top.
bottom to the top.
Yeah, you had to like
Yeah,
restart it from the beginning.
yeah, and
And yeah, it
there's
was just
like
annoying.
because you were honestly running out. It was enough enemies, and the distance was enough where you were running out of ammo
Mhm.
before you got to the top, and there's still enemies coming, so you have to switch to a different weapon. Yeah, not a fun moment.
No, yeah.
There are definitely some weird
And like the biggest pain is like
challenges.
if you use rations like during that, then like you're
Mhm.
just gonna have that many less by the time you have the
Right.
fight
Yeah.
immediately after that with the helicopter.
Yeah. So
Um,
that as a boss run up is just one of the worst for sure. Uh,
yeah.
yeah, that's mostly what I wanted to talk
Okay.
about
I have a
for Metal
couple
Gear
other
Solid 1.
random things. Like the level of detail is really cool, and like I think I had read on Reddit at some point, because I was looking up like the on the Master Collection which version of Metal Gear Solid 1 I should play. Because the second remastered version is like the Japanese only thing, which I didn't mess with. And at some point I'd come across this comment of like, oh, if you're playing it for the first game, just like every time you enter a new room or like a new story moment happens, just contact everybody and like see what they say. And I
Mm-hmm.
was surprised by like how often like characters would change the dialogue that you have like each time you talk
They
with
would have
them.
unique.
And like for
Yeah.
pretty much every boss fight also, they would like give you tips on like various things. They would all like provide different information. Like some of them would provide like background about like the like specific character you're going up against. Some of them would talk about like the exact weapon that they're using, or like stuff like that, or like the environment that you're surrounded in. And like there are specific moments of the story where like characters are unable to talk to you. So like Master is eventually, because we're talking about spoilers, he's revealed to be liquid, which I thought the reveal was that was funny. Like in the codec call, it was cool.
Yep.
But like if you try calling him right before that helicopter fight, he'll be unavailable because he's liquid and he's in that helicopter ready to fuck you up.
Yep.
So that was cool. And yeah, just like stuff like that, like on that level of like, yeah, I just think that the codec calls are the most solid part of the gaming experience.
There's a ton of detail
in this first
with
one.
that. Yeah,
and it's all fully voiced and it's awesome.
One thing to bring up, I'm curious what you thought about the clearance cards as a kind of way to.
Oh, I was going to mention that also. It was annoying in this
off.
game specifically because you had to equip it each time to go through a door.
Yep.
Versus the second game where it's just if you have that key card, like level, it'll just let you go through. You don't have to have it equipped. And then by the time we get to the third game, that's just not a thing, which sort of makes sense because it's a prequel.
Right.
And
so
like,
you wouldn't
have that technology, but also like as you're developing these games over time and like thinking of, okay, what could we get rid of that was bad in the older ones and improve upon, it would sort of be that. I didn't hate like the idea of like, basically what they're doing is they are blocking out certain parts of the game until you reach certain story moments, right? It's just a classic sort of like, I guess Metroidvania almost like sort of progression state where it's like, we're only going to let you through here until you get this level of card, which you get this level of card once you hit this boss fight, It's like just gating progression in that way. I don't like hate the idea of it. I just hated it when it came to the backtracking, which was somewhat minimal in this. I think the second one probably has the most amount of backtracking.
Yeah, specifically because of the way that the map is oriented. But one was there's still annoying to try and like, you need to pick up this rocket launcher, which is back in the beginning of the entire map or whatever.
Like it doesn't take that long to traverse through it.
Yeah.
Really,
there's some strange decisions to have you backtrack though. It's like when Meryl's bleeding out. Yeah, it's like what?
So they wanted you to like be together with her through the sniper through the Psycho Mantis fights. He could sort of mind control her, and you have to fight her, which we didn't mention that also. Was an interesting part of that boss fight because I didn't remember that initially. I guess considering that the Psycho Mantis boss fight is slightly better because you have to like worry about not completely killing Meryl.
Yeah.
You just have to sort of knock
Although
her out.
it is fairly simple once you realize you could just punch her a few times.
Yeah, you do the 3 combo.
Yep.
It adds just a small layer on top of what was already kind of like.
Yeah. It was honestly kind of irritating for me just because, you have like, it's essentially another.
A lot of these are like cool in practice or cool in theory, but like in practice, it's like, okay, it's just annoying. Yeah. Like the boss fights. But we already, have gone into that, I guess. But yeah, for like the sniper wolf fight is they want you to be together with her in the Psycho Mantis section and then separated from her after that point. And it feels like that sort of artificial excuse of like, we want them to be here together in this part of the story and then immediately after separated somehow. How do we do that? We gatekeep the point where they could get a certain weapon to defeat this enemy, so they have to go all the way back and leave this screen and leave her there because she was shot or something, and it's like
she's
to defeat her quick. The dude was like it seemed like there was some sort of urgency with you have to now kill the enemy so that she's safe from potentially another shot, but no, you have to go all the way back for like 30 minutes and like come back
she's
there.
Just bleeding out on the floor with a sniper just watching.
I don't know.
It is very strange.
Well, supposedly when you go back and try to get the sniper rifle from the barracks, in like one of the earlier parts of the game, they like take her somewhere and she's like imprisoned, captured at some place, which you don't see her again until the end of the game when you're doing the escape sequence, right? And there's after Sniper Wolf you get captured. Sniper Wolf, the first fight, you get captured, and there's like the torture sequence where you got to bun mash. Which, why in God's name did they make that a reoccurring thing across each of these games? There's such bullshit. Each one of them. It's like the one in this first game especially gave me trouble because I had to do it so many times. Where you're like in the prison cell and you discover that like the real DARPA chief was there, which was cool. I thought. and like the way like you got to get out of there. It took me like 3 tries through like a bunch of cycles of it. It was just like it's such an annoying thing.
Yeah.
But if you succumb to Ocelot's torture thing
And then she
and
just
you say yes,
dies,
then she dies. Apparently, I don't know.
which is
I
funny.
did, yeah.
And you ride off into the sunset with Otakon on your back instead
Yeah.
of Marrow, which is
Yeah.
pretty funny.
Always for life.
Um, but
They
yeah,
they went to
it
live
was
each
a
other in
strange element.
Antarctica or whatever, Alaska. I
Yeah.
mean,
Also, because I was on controller for the button mashing, I just had to smash my keyboard, which was loud as fuck and not fun. But it was a little funny. I'll give it that.
sure.
But I guess one thing I wanted to mention is my, I guess, my displeasure with the amount of times that your main villain, Liquid, dies and then comes back, and the amount of times like
Yeah.
you think the game's over, and then it's like, no, he's actually still here.
I
And
forgive
you're like,
it
oh, is he
all
dead
of
this
that
time?
because
Or
of the
no?
very last moment where he truly dies. That is like the peak gaming moment where he's
Yeah,
there's the thing Fox
succumbs to
die,
the
which we haven't really
Geno.
explained. It's like some sort of
Yeah.
disease that gets implanted within people somehow. I forget.
Like this entire Metal Gear One specific, or Metal Gear Solid One specifically, has like a weird kind of theme of genes and genetic engineering and genetic manipulation through obviously the big boss.
Yeah, the fact
Element
that he's a
to, like,
clone and that
clones.
Liquid is also
And
a
then
clone.
and then the Fox die element to the genetic nano machine, whatever, and it just kills whoever is genetically coded.
Yeah, but it's like it's really cool. Just like that moment where Liquid is like he's realizing what's happening to him, but he's not able to get it all out. He could only just say Fox, and then Snake says die, and he fucking dies. It's like now that's cinema right there. That's
There are moments throughout these games where you have those kind of James Bond quips, where it's very just
yeah. These games can be
tongue-in-cheek.
funny sometimes, honestly.
Yeah, very funny.
And that's
Very,
one of
very
them.
funny. Yeah. Yeah. No, I did really enjoy the game. However, because my experience was so hampered, I think it's
It's
just
understandable. Yeah.
not enough for me.
Yeah, the jank was there even for me, like on my end, and like the we haven't really talked about it, but like the enemy AI for like the guards is like super important. And I was really impressed by like even just by the first game, like they're detecting me like through sound, like as you walk over certain surfaces, they're like, oh, there's a dude there or something. Because I would play like the newer Assassin's Creed games, and like some of the NPCs in that are just like so stupid, or like Skyrim, or like list off any game really.
Right. Yeah. The
And
detail in the AI in this one
it's pretty
far
impressive
away.
across each of these. And they would like track me, like even like in the first area, they would like look at my footprints and be like, oh shit, there's a dude here, and they're like they like follow them.
Whose footprints are these?
Though.
Yep.
Like I just think it's really cool what they were able to accomplish just in general for this game, like 1998. When it like what are even other video games coming out in 1998? Let me look. Okay, Ocarina of Time. That makes sense. Half-Life, Banjo-Kazooie. So iconic games, Fallout 2, Baldur's Gate. But like all of those ones that I just said are like the like icons, like the pinnacle of what gaming it was at the time. And like if you just go down the list further, you would just find like a bunch of bullshit to like compare it to, of like what this was doing versus while everything else was just eating ass. Like Pokemon Yellow came out also in 1998. What a shitty game. What a crappy little game right there.
This one, like as much as some of those games that you mentioned are iconic, I think Metal Gear Solid earns its place just due to how ambitious it is and how many things it's trying to do. Because, like we said, the amount of interactivity that you have through the sandbox elements of your weapons and engaging with the enemy AI, which, like we said, is so layered, and then you also have the in-game cinematics, which are fully voice acted, and the codec elements, and all of these things wrap up with a very engaging story, and it just kind of packaged itself into such an iconic and memorable game that really took the world by storm and is now celebrated as one of the best games of all time for good reason.
No, yeah. I agree with you there, which I don't know. I have random other points. Snake and Otacon, their real first names are Dave and Hal, respectively, which they're named after 2001, A Space Odyssey characters. And there's other characters in the future games who are named after movie dudes, including Snake himself in the next game, if we want to, I guess, start talking about that. I don't think I have anything else to say about one.
Yeah.
We could give our ratings for each of them, I guess, at the end. just to
Sure.
sort of keep it
I
vague
would. Okay, sounds
for
good.
now. All right, yeah. So for 2, it takes
Metal Gear Solid 2: Sons of
interesting
Liberty,
leaps. Yeah.
released in 2001.
hmm
Hmm.
It takes interesting leaps, sort of away from, while still like feeling like a true sequel to the game. And this one was known for, like, at the time, people were this sort of had this outrage because they love Snake the character. He's a badass in 1. He's just kind of like the perfect badass. I mean, honestly, in like every way, and he's like so well written, and like the acting and everything, and just like playing as him, like you feel like a badass in 1. And you
Women
get to
love him.
2, and like 90% of the game, you're playing as this random dude, Raiden. Like, what? This dude is so lame, man. Oh my god, give me Snake. Give me Snake. But
Snake,
like for them to
why?
be able to do the things that they did within the story into, for them to do the exact things they wanted to do, this was completely a necessary step. And I think over time, like, people have become more acceptable of the switch up of, like, you only play for Snake for a small amount of this game, and then you play
Hmm.
as this other dude, Raiden, who I thought was a really cool extra main protagonist in
Protagonist.
this
Yeah,
game,
I agree. Hmm.
to add to just like, because yeah, I mean, we'll get to it, but like the meta-ness of this game is, they lean into that a
Hmm.
lot more than the first. Like in the first, there's just there's those handful of moments with like the Psycho Mantis, and now I'm looking at the back of my game box or whatever. And in this, they lean into that much more with like full blown plot points are just like about, oh, the first game is a thing that exists, and like we're just everything is based off of that. Like, I mean, even from the beginning, because Raiden is like, um Snake has like the combat field experience even set up from the first game, right, where he's experienced the events of Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2 Revenge of Snake, and even before that I think he was doing like random soldier shit. But Raiden is like a brand new face to this whole like action combat espionage, what the fuck, action stealth espionage.
Hmm.
He's new to the scene of that. And the only experience he has to draw off of, which he mentions time and time again, especially at the start of the game, is these VR missions, which he's done
Hmm. Hmm.
billions of them. He's done hundreds of thousands of them, and it's like it's really funny because the exact footage they show during those cutscenes are the VR missions in Metal Gear Solid 1.
Hmm.
Which again I played very briefly. They were just like kind of whatever, and he just offers a completely new perspective to the like actual experience of the game and the story, while also like by transitioning the point of view away from Snake and having Snake still be in the game as a character, you also bring like a whole new perspective of what you could do with Snake the character. You know, where like
Hmm.
he still feels like a badass, but like from this completely like different perspective. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
like now you're the one who is not really knowing what Snake is doing or thinking, or and you're sort of like lost away from that. Meanwhile, in like the first game, he was very understandable and just sort of straight and like uh just a I guess I wouldn't call him normal, but a standard like good guy, you know. And in this, it's like you don't really quite know that at first because they sort of just point you in different directions for that character. So I did really enjoy the story in the second game specifically here. It took different directions, and it was again more convoluted and less like it was harder to follow along at points. But it was still a solid time for, I guess, the story specifically.
Yeah, I agree. Raiden is a really interesting protagonist because he starts as essentially like an empty slate, whereas
Yeah.
Snake in the first one is much more of a fully developed character. He's
hmm
kind of he is that badass, but he's also, somewhat playing fast and loose with the rules. He'll do his own thing if he thinks if he
Yeah.
should,
His
or
like
if he thinks
morality
it's
steps in,
yeah,
and just like
like
yeah.
whatever it takes to finish the mission, he's going to take it despite what the colonel or whoever is going to tell him to do. Whereas Raiden is, that gung ho rookie. He's like, yes, tell me what to do and I'll do it.
Yeah.
And then as the game progresses, the story progresses, you figure out more about his backstory and how he went through somewhat similar things to Snake, where
hmm
he's a child soldier and raised in war. However, has been utilized by Foxhound and the agencies at large in less than reputable ways.
hmm
So he begins to learn, and like you said, with Snake now being a side character for that kind of second stage of the game, when you're playing as Raiden. He gets to take on more of like a mentor role, where he's kind of teaching Raiden how to become more like him, how to kind of create his own character, and fight through whatever he should feel like. I guess he's just trying to get Raiden to think for himself and think outside.
Yeah, exactly. He's like a mentor figure to him, which
yeah.
I like the dynamic between them, especially like by the end. It's just so cool. It's
Yeah,
like
it's at the end.
There's some great moments with the two of them, like throughout the game, but yeah, especially by the end.
Yeah, I guess we could start talking about how much the game improved. The combat and the controls, I think, were just miles and miles better than the first one.
Yeah.
Specifically because I got to play with the controls.
Oh, really?
Controller in this one, so it was much more intuitive instead of using a mouse and keyboard. Despite that, the gunplay is still really iffy. This one specifically wanted you to go into like a first-person mode, and you had to toggle that on and off, and then like shoot using the controls there.
Yeah. It was, only during like certain sections though, because there's like the points in both when you're playing as Snake and Raiden. There's like moments where you got to shoot the like computers that control mines, like when they go off and stuff. So there's those, and then also like sniper segments where you do first person, but like I don't remember using first person for much else.
I was using it pretty regularly.
I guess for like taking out like the floating sentries sometimes when they were like you had to go from like.
I would do it even for the enemies because for some reason I couldn't get the auto aim to work. So I would usually just toggle on the first person and then kind of tag the enemies as you would.
I was trying to avoid most of them, I guess, rather than do a confrontation thing, even though it like doesn't matter too much one way or the other, like how you do it. So
yeah, but I think overall just the progression from 1 to 2 is leaps and bounds better, both with the graphical fidelity. Everything just looks way better, as well as you're not as focused on like the top-down perspective. There's a lot more kind of fluidity with how it bends things, and there's a lot more verticality where now you can kind of slide under things or loop under like a bridge and climb underneath things, or climb over a railing and drop to a lower
all
floor.
Of a sudden like the verticality of like things matter a lot more, and just like those ways that you said. I had to like read about that because like the first game had a manual, and then the second game also had a manual, which I checked out the controls somewhat early into this, and I like realized that you can hang up. I think they tell you also. There's like a tutorial.
It took me a while to figure it out. Yeah, because it's definitely not really explained very well. But once you're able to use it, it's definitely not necessary, but it adds a whole nother level to the kind of sandbox nature of these games.
The setting is maybe the only thing I think is a step down. Maybe like I enjoyed the vibe of it, how it's completely different from the first game, where the first game it's like this sort of snowy, mountainous, like sort of middle of nowhere, but just basically this huge ass factory thing. And like the environment's like it changes over time. It's like over time, like sometimes you're inside, sometimes you're outside. And like there's like a frosty internal like level thing, and now there's like basically a fire level. You know what I mean? Like the whatever. Like for some reason there was like magma and shit, or lava, whichever term. And like the sets and like the actual locations you're at is more varied in the first game, and in this like I really like the vibe of it. And it's like when you're outside, there's like pretty much no music or noise or anything. There's like just ambient like seagulls flying around on the shell. For the shell specifically, I'm like when you're on the boat, they're slightly different, but like you're only on the boat for like that section of the game is like 2 hours maybe.
Yeah.
When you're playing a Snake, and then the rest of the game is Raiden. And they like. You eventually, but like the shell specifically, like it feels a little bit more repetitive, just like one location to the other. It's like, what the hell is the difference between shell A and B? Like, I don't know. I'm part of that's a naming scheme, I guess. But like,
And all the maps are the same because it is all, it's a symmetrical like octagon or hexagon, and
yeah,
so you're
it's a
going
bunch of
from each shell
hexagons.
to shell,
It's a
and
hexagon of
it's
hexagons.
yeah, and
It's like
they're all the same map layouts, and they're all the same
more or less.
textures. They take different liberties and different story kind of set pieces that take place in each one.
Yeah.
But overall, it's definitely a more monotonous map
Yeah, and
and
the
world.
backtracking is at its peak here in this because you go to each
Yeah.
of those things like multiple times throughout the game.
And then sometimes like one chunk will be locked out, and so you have to go fully around all of the other ones in order to get back to the one that you need to.
Yeah.
Yeah, not fun. But I think besides that, I did, like you said, like the overall setting and how
The
it's used
atmosphere of it was really
with
cool,
bombs
I
and
think.
yeah.
It was just, yeah, so it was just repetitive was all. Like the backtracking of it was annoying, I think. But yeah, other than that, like the biggest difference I noticed was the room to room, like just guards. It was like way tougher because like the AI of them was better. And like there was just so much more of them. Like it made like each room like there was more consideration that I had to undergo to like I was mostly trying to avoid them. There were times where I like took them out and I would like, okay, I took out this guy, now I gotta hide him in this room and then hope that I don't get seen. Oh, I'm seen, I'm dead. Like type of shit.
Yeah.
And like I just got to a certain point where like because they're very generous when it comes to the checkpoints where it's like basically if you die you just get reset to the like starting point of the most recent like room you entered. And so I would sort of abuse that eventually where like if I got caught I would just move to the room I want to go to and then just kill myself because then like because otherwise I'm just like waiting like so long for like the meter to go down and like I know that's not the way to play the game. But like I tried at first of like trying it where like, oh, okay, I get caught, now I have to hide somewhere or like take out dudes who see me, but like every time someone sees you, like the counter resets.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Of like,
No, I would do very similar things.
yeah,
Because
of just like I'm gonna jump off the ledge now, or I'm just gonna let this guard kill me, or I grenade myself or something.
as much as the stealth is better in this game,
Yeah.
which like as
It's
the way that you're playing,
it's better as in like
makes
it's
it a little
tougher, I guess. But like I also abused the not doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it is still, I mean, this game came out 2001. It's still dated, but there are definitely a lot of improvements.
Yeah,
and a lot
they
more.
would like if you did stay alive, they would follow you between rooms,
Yeah.
so you weren't like perfectly safe if you like, oh, I just transitioned to the next room, which I think was the way in the first game. But in this, they'll actually like they'll track you down. Like I don't know how they do it because they'll like it'll be like the exact like guard NPCs from the other room, just like straight up walk into the other one. You know what I mean? Which is I think it's cool.
It's a very impressive AI system, and they just constantly add on to it.
Yeah, and they'll like move together, and they'll move. By the third game, it gets more advanced. But like even by the second game, they're like looking at I watched this making of documentary for the second one, which is the only one out of the three that has one, I think. And they would like by that point they had like in all of them they had like military specialist people who would like show like how teams of people would like infiltrate a thing or like just like search for somebody or something together and like the way they would like move with each other and like it's and the way they implemented that and I think at least 2 and 3 it's like more and more impressive by the time we get to like the third game and there's like the ocelot fight and like the early part of the after the time skip in that and it's like I guess that's sort of like the peak even though that one's maybe the most annoying out of like all of these types of things. But it's also the most impressive and most realistic, I guess, in terms of that. So yeah, it's definitely like each room was tougher, but on the inverse of that, the bosses are much easier. And there's also less of them in total, or there's roughly the same amount.
Yeah,
there's less actual character
like
bosses.
3 kind of memorable ones that are like like you said, the named bosses. From what I remember, there's Vamp, Fatman, and
Vamp,
Fortune.
and Fatman.
Yeah, which are funny. Like they're very kind of strange. Like, why are we fighting a vampire?
It's
Who
weird.
knows?
I like to it when he does this weird slow motion jump. Where
Yeah.
he like moves his elbows
Yep.
or like it looks like he's dislocating his shoulders. You know what I mean? Like his arms are like so far back as
I'm
he's
not sure
slow
if it's
motion
supposed to
jumping down.
be scary or intimidating.
He's supposed to
but,
be unnerving
it's very fun.
because
Mhm.
like of those slow motion moments, and like he was very soft spoken, but he would also say weird things nonchalantly. I think.
He was like very quick and very strong, like
Yeah.
superhumanly so. And you're like, well, is this an actual vampire? It's like, no, it's just like I don't know.
It's Kojima's
Nanomachines,
version of a
some
vampire,
shit.
which is like we're
Yep.
not gonna go full blown into it because he could go outside in like the daylight or whatever.
Yep.
But it's like he basically has vampiric powers and he likes to bite people and I guess suck their blood. Okay, I don't know.
Yeah.
He can't.
Yeah.
We never see him turn into a bat though, or like he hates garlic or crosses or steaks or whatever. So, but other than that, I mean, I like the set piece of that one fight where it's like it's that pit of water that has all of the oxygen or
Right.
something gone within
Yeah.
it. So if it's just basically a bottomless pit or some shit. It like goes to the bottom of the ocean. Which the thought of that
Yeah.
is kind of freaky as hell. Like just
It is.
a thing of water that you just
You
can't
cannot
swim in
float
and
and
you
you can't
just
swim.
sink.
Yep. Yeah,
That's
it is
fucked up. I'm like,
terrifying.
oh goddamn.
Then
I
he
fell
just
into
dives
that
in
by
there all the
mistake.
time. Oh yeah, for sure. 'Cause he can kick you into it,
Oh, really?
which I didn't realize until
Did he
like
do
the
that for
fourth
you?
time I was trying to fight him,
Oh, really?
and then he'd all of a sudden teleported behind me and kick me, and I'm like, oh fuck.
Teleports
Well,
behind
good to know that he could do that.
you. Yeah, interesting.
But yeah, I think the bosses aren't not as good as the first one. Just the boss fights in and of it themselves.
They're less memorable because of the actual characters attached to them. And then also maybe mechanically. I spent less time on them because they were easier, so I could just like either like one or two tries at most, if not the first for most of them.
Yep, fully agree. The rest of the characters are a lot of fun. You have Raiden and his love interest Rosemary,
Mhm.
who, for the longest time I couldn't tell if she was real, especially
No, I
as you
know.
get further on in the story when you are figuring out that, oh, the Colonel is maybe not what it seems.
Yeah, there's still I
We'll
think
probably
ways
discuss
to
more about
interpret that maybe she's not even by the end. I don't
Yeah.
know. There's maybe
But
still
the
some.
final cutscene, it
Yeah,
kind of
she's like
leads
physically
it
there
off
as
where
he's
she is
physically
real.
there, but it's also
Yeah.
like a weird like I don't know, like the meta-ness of just the whole
Yeah,
string of cutscenes. By that point, it's like like I don't even know what's real anymore.
It's almost
by that point.
dream-like
Yeah,
in its
exactly.
logic. Yeah.
It's cool though.
I also really liked Stillman, the bomb man that you have as your kind of guide for how to.
Oh yeah, like the
disarm
ex-cop
all
or
of the
something
different
who's on
bombs.
the
Yeah,
thing with you,
exactly.
helping you out during the first section there. Which these games also, I think, are good examples of how to handle difficulty options in video games. Because a lot of them, it just comes down to enemies deal more damage and take less damage or have more HP or something like that when it comes to like RPGs. In the context of the second game specifically, it will like change where certain items, like where you get certain items, and maybe by which points in the game you would have access to them. And then also for like the section where you're defusing bombs, there will be more of them, some of them that did exist will be in like different spots in like slightly more challenging locations. So like it's that further level of like detail, like consideration that they're putting into this, rather than just the boss fights they did take more. It takes more to kill them, and you take less to be killed. Which I think they'd still do that, but it's that like on top of these other like
Gameplay
mechanical
changes.
differences
Yeah.
amongst them that I think they do a good job with doing here in this game.
Yeah, fully agree. And I think the standout for me in this game is probably the story. Despite how much more convoluted it gets, I think specifically the final third of the game is when everything kind of clicks into gear, because you have your first third where you're with Snake, and it's a little kind of disjointed. It feels more similar to like a direct continuation of the first game, clearly because you're just playing as Snake again. And he gets tanker blows up, whatever, and you're starting to play with Raiden, and it's a little bit kind of discombobulating. You're like, oh, it's a new character, new map, but similar map, same characters, but different. It's a little strange. And then as the story kind of coalesces, the final third is when everything clicks into gear and you start to kind of get all the pieces together. And I really liked all those interesting elements of like mimetic programming and using AI to censor and control language in order to manufacture control over the populace. Is
They
like,
go places at
what?
the end of
Where
this
in,
game,
in
man. To me,
2001?
it's the
Like, what the
standout,
fuck
and
was
like, yeah,
happening?
it's fucking 2000. Are we talking 2001 or 2025 or 2031?
Yeah,
Or like
exactly.
what
Yeah.
year is this? Being set in? And like it really is amazing just how much
That
they were
shit
able to
there
predict,
was.
like especially when it's
Yeah.
like talking about like where the internet will go, and like people will
Hmm.
seclude into like their own groups to like basically just get confirmation bias from each other, like when like incels, for example, like in any other point in time, like the maybe individuals, some of them can like have those sorts of feelings,
Yeah.
that I guess the modern day incel can be described as, but they would
Hmm.
never be able to group together without the internet. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
like
Yep.
just like this complete like, I mean, that's exactly what has happened and is still happening and will continue to
Yeah.
happen in more severe ways. Yeah, especially with the AI uprising, which I mean
Hmm.
we've yet to see the exact result of all that. So, but yeah, like it's just crazy. Like you just sit there in the year 2025 or the equivalent of that, and you just sit there and you're like, oh my god, this game was made in 2001 for like this
Hmm.
entire like this set of like 5 or 10 minutes where they're just like rambling off about like the internet and like technology and shit. It's like, oh my god,
Yeah.
how did they fuck? That's
Extremely
nuts.
prescient, very profound, and it's all built on the back of this story that is incredibly strange and even more convoluted than the first one because of how much it tries to recontextualize things with the addition of the Patriots, who are now a secret government
Yeah.
organization that is controlling all of the other world governments, and it is, coalescing power unto itself and using now new AI and other weapons in order to just like completely control everything about it, so that like it's almost Orwellian, where they're trying to control the systems in place and the language and the capability of the populace to even form like the ability to combat them. And it's all up to Raiden and Snake to try and get through them. And it is very cool how everything coalesces with the kernel and the discovery
Results of
of
all that.
the AI kind of going haywire because of
Yeah.
the different nano machine hijinks or whatever.
Yeah, just like a
Um,
super eerie moment near the end of the game. You're literally stripped naked and you're just walking around. Meanwhile, the dude who's been in your ear the entire time is just straight bugging out.
Taking
Like they're not.
down,
Oh, they're
yeah,
not even a real person, and they're just completely speaking gibberish to me. Like whatever the
yeah.
I forget the one of the phrases, but it was someone that like some earlier character said, but that they were like also bugging out too, or maybe it was in the third game. I forget. But yeah,
Yeah.
like the ending to me is a standout within the context of this game,
It just
specifically like
recontextualizes the whole
experience of everything that's
4
happened
hours
so
that you've
far.
been playing, yeah, in a really unique way. And we haven't even discussed Solidus, who is
Oh yeah,
another Snake clone, and
he was a
he
previous U.S. president. Okay, why not?
yep, and he's also trying to take out the Patriots, but kind of trying to utilize their methods in his own, ideal way. And it's interesting as a foil to Solid Snake,
Yeah,
as to like what could go wrong,
yeah,
which is very
exactly.
similar to what we had with Liquid.
Yeah,
But I guess Liquid was like a little more self-centered, and Solidus is more, I don't know, regimented and militaristic in his endeavors. But he also has a very interesting relationship with Raiden, and trying to get him to break out of, the Patriots' control.
no, yeah, exactly.
However, you get that kind of light side and dark side of Solid versus Solidus, and Raiden has to essentially figure things out for himself and decide which side he's going to end up taking. And obviously, it's our boy Solid. He's the guy through and through. And so you get a nice kind of climactic finish with Solidus, and it's a pretty cool sword fight.
Yeah.
I kind of enjoyed that as the final boss fight. It's a great
Yeah,
set
it was
piece.
super interesting because I'm like I'm aware of Metal Gear Rising Revengeance or Vengeance or whatever, and I'm like I know that's a character called Raiden and he wields a sword, so I'm thinking like, oh, if this is the same Raiden, then surely we must pick up that sword play at some point in the game. Like it has to be at least established to like be able to be a thing in the future games. And I thought with the like there's Deep Throat sort of makes a return, not in the same exact character who was embodying them, but like I figured they would be sort of the teacher of the sword techniques or something, but that isn't really what happens. It like the like reveal of that feels like a little bit underplayed, you know, like it was what's her name? I forget, the Russian lady, son
Olga,
of daughter of Gerlukovich. Yeah, Olga.
Yep.
Disguised as Deep Throat,
Cyborg Ninja, and Deep Throat,
and like the reveal of that wasn't like, I just feel like the payoff of that wasn't too cool. Like the actual details of like going back and like rewatching the cutscenes of like she shows up when you're doing the microphone thing and you're like trying to find the President Ames or whatever, and she like shows up there and she's like talking to Ocelot about stuff, and then she like seemingly walks off, and then once Ocelot like surrounds you, she shows up, so it's like established that she was in the area, sort of trying to like, and she had like sort of an alibi with being and talking with Ocelot, so like on their side of like, so like the details of that are there. It's just that like, I mean, do we even see her after the point of like once Raiden meets back up with Snake? Like, is she on the top of the building with them? If she is, I completely forget like
I do. Yeah,
what she does after
it's
that
definitely
point.
a little more up in the air.
Like I feel like the payoff wasn't as strong, or maybe she just died and I completely forgot. Like I have no idea.
I'm pretty sure she does die, but like you said, it's not as memorable of a moment. But yeah, it's more of a way to tie back into the original with just having that. Oh, is Gray Fox still alive or is he not?
Yeah.
That's the mystery, and I think it's done well enough where you have your kind of wild card ally in the wings where you're never sure when they're going to show up or who they really are and if you can really trust them, but it does follow a very similar path to the first one overall.
And like the similarities between the two I'm completely cool with because of what they do with that in the story, whereas like eventually I think Ocelot is the one who says it, where it's like the whole sequence of events up until now have just been like purposefully recrafted, like the events of the first game for the sake of Raiden to undergo or something. And it's like, I think it's a cool way of explaining like, okay, we have this sequel to this video game that we're making and we want to have certain elements carry over to the next one, but we want them to be like impactful in a slightly different way, and also we want to justify their existence despite the fact that it's the same structure of like, isn't it weird that I'm a person playing this video game and I am isn't it weird that like it's the same sort of setup sequence of like there's this evil organization made up of these set of characters that I'm going up against again in like an exact like almost similar type of way. So like to just like outright like say that's what it is and like just form it in the story, I think is like a good way of like just justifying it,
It's that kind of meta exploration that Kojima and the rest of the Metal Gear Solid team
that they
loves kind of engaging with, where it's like, we are playing a sequel to a game, what of it? Like, let's actually tie that into the game and the actual narrative at large, and see where we can take that.
And it's fun.
And it leads to very strange moments, but they're very charming nonetheless. I think my least favorite aspect of these games is the exposition because of how much they're trying to do with a lot of these like meta moments and the plans within plans.
It's very easy to get lost, and by the time we're like the Lilo or whatever the shit. It's just like first of all, it's a hard enough thing to say, which is intentional, and it's like a cool little thing. And like it's just very easy to get lost in really each of these. I don't know if the second one maybe more so than the others, if that's how you feel, or if that's
I think this is the most convoluted
Okay.
the story gets.
Yeah, probably.
3 has its own problems, but I
Sure.
think overall it's a more cohesive experience, and we'll talk about that.
Um, but yeah, to go back to Solidus is like in theory he is like the perfect sort of villain to this because he's a result of the Les Enfants Terribles, which is what Snake and Liquid are from. And so he has a connection to Snake, and then he also has a connection to Raiden because he's like his adoptive father, who like trained him in like all of this training,
Warfare and
killing and
espionage,
stuff.
yeah.
And so like he is like in theory that perfect thing, but I just don't like feel as strongly attached to his character as I did Liquid, where like Liquid, like the actual character of him is like so much more recognizable and iconic, like the just like the a cocky attitude of his.
Yeah.
Versus like Solid, who's like he's more of like a serious stoic, like I don't know, he's just like less exciting and like less interesting. And I didn't I didn't dig his design a whole lot, like his suit of just like the noodle arms that like came out. It's like
I kind of like it was very strange. It took me out because it's like, oh, what is this, Doc Ock?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
in Marvel right now.
It felt weird.
But it I think it's kind of cool. I'm not gonna lie.
No, that's fair. It would like expand and shrink depending on like what
Mm-hmm.
combat mode he wanted to be in or something. I don't know.
Yeah. I think it's cool how he used it in his actual boss fight in order
Sure.
to have
Yeah.
multiple different attacks.
Mhm.
But yeah, I definitely see it's a very strange kind of art design choice to have him set up with weird prosthetic limbs.
But like right before you fight him, and like even before that convoluted cutscene where Ocelot's lore dumping about why all the game has been the way it is at that point. Oh, which also he has he like detached Liquid's arm from his body and then put it on his arm, and then Liquid is somehow living through him. Like it just feels
we haven't even
that
talked
part
about
felt
how,
like a lot of anime shit.
well, yeah, because it was in the very beginning section where you're playing a Snake, you come across Ocelot, who is taking over the tanker, and Ocelot is taken over by his prosthetic arm because that was where Liquid injected his essence into, and so Liquid took over Ocelot.
It's really funny.
And he was able to
like the
survive.
voice change is awesome.
Yeah.
Like go along with it. It's like the Liquid voice actor talking in the like near the end of the cutscenes of this second part of the game.
Yeah, I was definitely laughing because I already had
cool.
like my issues with how
It was cool
Liquid
and
would
fun.
never die in the first one.
No, I know.
And
He's
now I'm like,
still
oh,
just
he's
fucking
still
going. Like,
fucking
it,
okay.
on the one hand, it's sort of annoying, but like on the other hand, like I forgive it because it's just fun. You know, like
Yeah,
like why
it's
not?
bombastic and it's weird.
Yeah.
And it's very unique, without a doubt.
But like before that, there's like the Metal Gear Ray fight, and like the in the first game you just fight off against one Metal Gear, and like that's more than enough because it's like it takes forever, and there's like 3 phases, and there's an unskippable cutscene in the middle of it. And in this one you fight an absolute shit ton of them for the newer models of Metal Gear Rays, and like that battlefield is so sick, and like just like there's so many of them, and they're just like constantly coming at you, and like for me, like the boss fights can be summed up as like I already said it, but like really cool, really just like awesome in like concept, and then the actual like doing it is just it's just annoying. You know what I mean? Where it's like
it's just a specific gimmick.
Yeah, it's just an expansion
over and over
the first game's Metal Gear fight, where you have that whatever first person missile launcher, and you shoot it at its legs, and then it opens up its face, and then you shoot its face, and you just do that over and over and over again, like 500 times, because like it depends on the difficulty how many appear, which is another thing that the difficulty changes up. But yeah, and like I played through all of these on normal mode, and it might have been a dozen or so, or 20, or like you lose count kind of after a certain point, because it's kind of just like like it's intense, like that's the thing. But
I thought it was bugged. I'm like, how many of these do I have to kill? Like,
yeah, like is my game bugged? I've been doing this for 50 minutes now
because they keep coming.
Yeah, it's really cool though. Like again,
it's conceptually it's really cool, and you know the scale of everything is really cool with you just on that platform, and there's just waves of massive metal monsters.
It's like intimidating, and it's like, oh my god, I have to fight how many of these fucking things? Like I already struggled enough against one of them, and this is like a newer version of them. Which the design of this one was pretty cool in the documentary. They highlighted how they wanted sort of more like an aquatic sort of vibe to it, where it doesn't really have arms; they're more like fins. and it has like a long tail to like help it swim around, which it does in at least one of the cutscenes when there's like the helicopter fight, and then Vamp uses the Metal Gear Ray to come in and smack at you or something. I don't remember, but yeah,
Vaguely remember that. Yeah.
I think Vamp was at first. Was Vamp piloting the helicopter thing at first, and then Solidus got in that, but then the Metal Gear Ray showed up eventually, and it took Solidus away, and it was just going
That
on its
sounds
own.
about right. Yeah.
And then Vamp ran on water
when you were on
and
the
did
bridge with them.
another dislocated shoulder jump thing.
He loves doing that.
That's his thing. That's what he's known for. Dislocated shoulder jump.
Yeah, honestly, I don't have a ton else to say about 2. It very much is similar game. It's a very similar game to 1, but it's just improved in many aspects. And despite how many improvements there are, at the end of the day, it is still a Metal Gear Solid game. And a lot of the things that we were discussing with the first game ring true for this one. Both in like the amount of freedom you have to like deal with the different enemies and map layouts and all the different tools that you're given. You have to utilize your flak grenades a lot more in this one. I felt like with the amount of automated like your
There's a lot of
drones or
cameras
your
that
cameras,
shoot at you
a
in this
ton
one.
of cameras. Yep. And it's very specific, like sections of the map where there's like 15 in a single room, which is a little irritating.
There's the one part where you climb the tower or you descend it.
Yeah,
there's like a camera on every corner that like will shoot at you or something. It's like why? What are we doing?
Really good way to break up the gameplay section. Great job, guys.
Or that might have been the first game. I forget actually.
No, it was the first. It was this one.
Okay.
Yeah. But other than that, I think that the actual story is the most interesting aspect of it. Despite how convoluted it is just strangely profound and almost prophetic. And its depiction and like postmodern dissection of the culture
really
of the
interesting
internet
stuff.
And
I just have a couple other random things. Snake in this one goes by the codename Pliskin when he like first meets Raiden as like he's like doesn't want to fully trust him, I guess, by that point, and he wants to keep his identity hidden because also Solidus Snake is just going as Snake, and it's on Raiden's end. He's thinking, oh, this is the fucking there's no way this is the dude from Shadow Moses, no way, type of thing. So
and like the Foxhound wasn't sure if like Snake died in the tanker because his body washed up, but that was actually Liquid's body. So he goes undercover for the first time that he meets Raiden.
And he specifically uses the name Iroquois Pliskin, which Iroquois was an Indian tribe. Still is, I guess. And I think when you translate that, it roughly means like rattlesnake or something.
Okay.
So it's just his name is still Snake, I guess.
Another snake.
But Pliskin is a character from John Carpenter's Escape from L.A. and Escape from New York. Those movies. And like the character in general is, I feel like the most inspired by the character there because the dude's name in that is just Snake Plissken, like the full name of the character in that.
Yeah.
So Kojima just plucked both of those for the character here. And he also he has an eye patch, and he's also doing like infiltration stealth stuff, sort of, where he's trying to they basically make the entire either New York and then Los Angeles in the sequel. They basically just make it like Arkham City, sort of, I think, where it's just basically like the criminals sort of rule there, and they're keeping the president hostage or something. And then like each of these games, you're pretty much like saving the president at some point, or the president of something at some point, at least for the first two games.
Some sort of high up.
So it's sort of like that similar, and like I think those movies, the John Carpenter films, he's a little bit more morally gray, I guess, but he's still like that sort of badass gun ho, I'm gonna do things myself sort of thing.
Very similar to Snake.
Yeah, for the most part. Like the Snake, I feel like is more emphasized on like not anime power of friendship, but like he's like you are for the most part in the first game infiltrating this place alone, And then like Meryl is also physically present, but like especially if you it depends on how heavily you rely upon the codec calls and how often you do them. But like it feels much more like a team based sort of thing where like various people are like helping you across the way there with that. And the like we never talked about Mei Ling in the first game, but that was like a nice little character of like when you save the game, she would just like ramble off about some random moral message, like Chinese proverb or like random stuff like that, which was funny. And then in the second game, when it's just Snake and really your only contact is Ocelot during Metal Gear Solid 2 when you're playing as Snake. And when you save the game, he also he like gives his best attempt at that. Otacon. I said Ocelot, yeah. And yeah, exactly. Oops. Both O's, and they're in they have a similar amount of syllables. Ocelot.
And Ocelot will become your contact in the 5th game.
They're also both gay for Snake or something. Oops, spoilers.
So, yeah.
For Otacon's calls, he tries to like sort of do something like that Mei Ling did, but to a lesser extent. And there's I saw that by the time the credits roll, like Mei Ling's voice actor is credited in Metal Gear Solid 2. I went to the entire game being like, wait, what? What do you mean? I've never communicated or talked with her or anything. And I looked it up, and apparently, like, if you try to save the game a bunch of times, or like if you save the game a bunch of times during the Snake section of this game, eventually like Otacon will just say so many incorrect things that it'll just trigger Mei Ling being summoned onto like the call, and she'll like ramble off to him and like correct him eventually as like an Easter egg, which I thought was cool. And I tried my absolute best to replicate that on like a repeat, just trying to go through a quick run, but I couldn't do it because you can't just spam save over and over again. You have to like I think what you need to do is like you need to consistently, after like every fucking room or story moment you go into, you have to save, and that'll trigger like a new thing. Because like after a certain point, he'll just repeat himself,
right?
And he wouldn't like actually say something new until like you have to like hit like, because you can't just also like get to a certain point and then like, oh, you get all the calls that you would have gotten until that point. It's like if you miss it, you miss it, type of thing. So it's like it's kind of hard to get. And by the time I sort of figured that out after just spamming the save fucking buttons so often, I just kind of gave up. I was like, well, I guess I'll never see Mei Ling in this game. So I think I just watched it on YouTube.
Niche.
Yeah. But like, again, that's sort of what the games are known for, like their intricate little Easter egg things in this game. So yeah, Snake is named after Pliskin. There was someone else I was going to say about the codec calls. Oh yeah, for saving also in this game, because you use Rose to save, which she and Raiden, his real name is Jack and Rose. They're named after the Titanic characters in that movie. And saving the game triggers a codec call with her. And like some of the times it was just like, it's just unique, right? Like, many games you just save the game and that's it. And in these games you save the game and then you have like anywhere from like 10 seconds to maybe a couple minute long conversations with like one of the characters, like somehow. And then there was one time where I was like about to get on a Discord call with my brothers, but I was still playing the game. But I plugged like I had like my Elgato thing like still connected to my computer, so my microphone input was the game. And it was just like, it was as I was saving, and it was just like the super dramatic, like, music was playing as Rose and Jack were on a call together about like just their relationship and like what the state of like where they're at. And it was just for like 2 or 3 minutes long. And it's like this, it's saving the game. Like it's crazy, And I had to like explain that to them. And they're like, what was that? And I was like, oh, that was me saving the game.
Yeah, I was just saving.
Like,
so
it's cool.
Yeah.
It's like, it's such a unique, nice little thing there, I feel like, across all of them. But yeah, this one maybe
it's a way to be more engaged in the systems of just
you want to save often so you can see the character interaction. You don't want to save often if you're doing like the like these games sort of want you to replay them seemingly a bunch of times to get like the best, like almost Resident Evil type of thing where it's like at the end of the game you get like a report card. A lot of games do this, like I guess even Kingdom Hearts does it. Not that anybody cares about that one, but like where it grades you based on like amount of deaths, amount of times you killed other people, amount of saves you had, like stuff like that, amount of time it took for the Metal Gear Solid games. Not that I gave a shit. I probably got the worst grade on like each of them. I don't know. It was probably like whatever just was the lowest was the one I ended up getting. Yeah, various other things, different continuous screens based on character. So, when you're in the snake section, the game over screen you get in that is basically just like a newer, reworked version of the first game's version. And then in the ride-in section, like to me, it's a step down. Like the first one's iconic, but it's still like it's a game over screen that's still like good, and it has him dying, and then characters cry out to him to like figure out what's going on, sort of. It's just different. And I liked that, I guess, I don't know, level of detail. Because as a person who's going to play these games and die a bunch, I do something different with it. Why not? So there was that. Arsenal gear rooms named after internal organs. That's from the documentary where, like, the Arsenal gear is, like, the place you go down to eventually near the end of the game. And, like, it's a part where you're, like, running around naked. And, like, just the different corridors are, like, named after different internal organs because like I don't know, it's
strange.
You're walking through a giant machine thing that is reminiscent of the I don't know, some human body machine. Okay. Like we never talked about the escort parts of this game. What's her name?
With Emma.
Which in this game they get into Otacon's backstory. In the first game, like really his only characters that he pissed himself and he likes anime. He likes weeb shit, which is like it's kind of funny. I like it when he's rambling off to Snake about like mechas and stuff and like
and Snake's
like,
just like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Snake's like sort of a normal person, like not aware of like really any of that stuff. And like his only characterization in those is that, and then like he's a simp to Sniper Wolf, I guess.
Right.
Also, which like whatever, I'm fine with. And in this they go into his backstory, which is like it's like really weird. He was like sexually assaulted by his stepmom or something, but it was like it was weird. Like tore his family apart.
Right. Yep. And then he has the one sister that he still loves but couldn't ever talk to. It's definitely another just
it goes a direction that like you don't expect at this point in the game or the series. It's like, oh, okay, I guess this is happening now.
But it kind of makes sense in 2, but it's also just like another level of strangeness in the already fragmented narrative that it's a strange moment.
They both piss themselves when you interact with them the first time. Gotta love that. Thanks, Kojima. For the consistency.
Very strange, and the actual like escort portions are not very fun just because those kind of gameplay systems are never that fun.
Have you ever experienced a fun escort mission in any video game?
Literally never.
I don't think they exist. I think they just exist to be a pain. It's like in this one it wasn't like the worst thing ever. There was like this one room where I sort of struggled in, and I like to the point where like I just kind of gave up. And like I came back the next day, and like apparently like it was the room where like you take the elevator up from like there's like the cockroaches or whatever that you have to like spray away from. Which if they go into your rations, you like move the little menu up and down to get rid of them.
Really, I did that.
Did you ever have them where they like started trying to they like appeared on your menu on the rations?
No, I never got that.
Oh really? Yeah, there's like those cockroaches and like near the like elevator that'll take you to the water level. And if you like, I don't know, just like stand it within them for too long or something, they'll like go on your rations in the menu. And the way you get them off is you move the menu up and down, and then they'll like fall off. It's kind of cool.
That is cool.
But anyways, after that section in the elevator, you go up and then you have to like go south and like around like a bunch of guards and stuff, and then out through the east. Like I doubt you'll know what I'm talking about, but for the one escort session, and I gave up right there, but I gave up after I left the room from the east and then went back inside, and I quit the game there, and then I went back in the next day. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'll just do it from this point in the map instead now. So I take out all the guards in that section, like without getting spotted, which I was getting spotted a bunch of times before that point. And then I just like can't find Emma at all. And it turns out like if you just go all the way to the east and then just go back in, she'll like respawn at a point where like she's just basically past all the guards and like hiding in a separate room. So like it's just like I guess you could bypass that entire thing by just like
leaving her
like in
behind
theory,
and
if you want to
sprinting
just like
through.
speed run it, but not
Yeah.
it just be like a bastard, you could get spotted by the guards, go to the next room, kill yourself, go back in, and then she's in there, and then you just pull her out rather than dealing with all that. So that was interesting. Other set pieces, there was something else.
Oh, that sniping section on the bridge.
Oh yeah,
That was
that was
an
an interesting set
interesting
piece.
element. Yeah, I mean, it kind of tagged along with the escort mission because you have to
Yeah,
guide Emma through all of that.
yeah, to take out the
Um,
guards and sentries
yeah, it was
and call upon
pretty
Snake's help
irritating
eventually.
trying to like take out those flying drones when they were at the very end and they're like
Right.
miles away. It feels like
Yeah. Well, you had to
um,
like in the second game they
yeah,
give you this
this
thing that
drug,
like
yeah,
this drug that you take to like limit the
scope
what's it
sway,
called? I don't
and
know.
so you can
Yeah, the swaying of it.
sway. But it's a interesting set piece, I think.
I'm still looking through my thing.
Mm.
Solid as Snake. It's basically the Solid as Snake. It's like basically the same fight as like the first game for the helicopter fight. It's just kind of like I don't even know what's different about it. It's just
Yeah,
it's basically the same thing. You could go up and down the levels if you want to avoid the stuff, but like
I don't
going all
think
the
I
way
ever
down doesn't
did.
really help.
Yeah,
If you
exactly.
just go on the staircase, it'll like you'll be blocked from taking any damage, I think. So that was weird. Blah blah blah. Send missile, open door. President. P guy. Oh yeah, there's a dude who pisses on you potentially, or you could just walk into it. I did. Oops. Because I was just curious as to see what would happen with that. Yeah, there's another torture room in this, which was well, I can't remember if it was as bad as the first game. Like it took me less time to get through, I guess. But then there was also like another bun mash section near the end of the game when like everybody's up on top of the building, and Solid is just like choking you out or something, and you had to like bun mash to survive there. Apparently, in the original release of that game, it was a minute long. That
Yeah, I
button
remember
mashing
that
segment.
it
In
got
this, it was just
censored because of the
just 10
torture,
seconds.
and so you had to, yeah.
In the newer version of it, which version did you have?
I think
Was
I
the
had
older one?
I think I had the first English like translation version. So it was
That'll
not
do it.
the extremely long version, thankfully. But yeah, that was an interesting set piece.
Yeah. There's also a handful of timed sections in this game, which earlier on, like in the tanker section with Snake, there's the part where you gotta like take the pictures of the Metal Gear Ray, and if you like fail, like during any part of that, it'll like there's like a checkpoint in like each room that you go into, and it'll reset the timer each time, like regardless of what progress you have or haven't made throughout that. And then eventually in the ride-in sections, they have those time sections again. And the first one, I think it does that same sort of thing, where based on the most recent checkpoint, it'll just reset you there, and the time will also reset if you fail during it. And then eventually, when you're like getting rid of the bomb in like the under section, it might reset, or maybe that's the first one. And at a later point, sometime there's another time section where you have to like do something that I forget. But you have to like it'll just like if you fail that, you'll just reset all the way to the start of that. Which to me, that's how I thought they were all going to be until I failed during the Snake one, and I was just like, oh, I could keep going, and I get my 5 minutes back instead, which I appreciated as a person who didn't want to replay an entire section of the video game because I don't like that. Being my petty self. I don't know if you feel any way about those parts of the game. I think they were only in two. These time sections.
When you had to like disarm the bombs or find the bombs and spray the cryogenic whatever freezing whatever bomb disarmament gel, it was okay. I think it wasn't too hard to find all the bombs,
it was
so
usually
I never really had to
doable.
worry about it.
Yeah, I just failed on like finding it when it was underneath the submarine. I went around that entire section in just loops, and I went underwater to like find it. Is it down here somewhere?
Because you don't often, because this game introduced a bunch of verticality with the game. You had to like both crouch in order to like look under
Yeah.
things, as well as like hang from railings and utilize the verticality
Yeah.
to that extent.
Which is
So
always
it
cool.
was definitely something that I was like completely forgot about until I think I had to look up where that final bomb was just because I was
I might
like
have
in the
also.
vicinity. Yeah.
I forget
But
though.
other than that, it wasn't too difficult.
Oh yeah, you like enter a code name at some point, like very early on for some reason, and then it appears on a dog tag at the end of the game in the final cutscene.
Oh, right.
Remember doing
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
I
I
forget what
do
I named
remember that.
myself. It was someone not like super creative. It was kind of a bunch
Hmm.
of gibberish. And then there were these snake tails at the like as a side mode thing. I can't remember if 2 also had VR missions attached to it. It probably did. But it also had these things called snake tails, which was like I don't even know what they were. If they were like alternate universe shits, or if it was like
Hmm.
what Snake was up to on his side
Like other
of the
missions.
thing.
Hmm.
Because like that's how I thought the game was going to be structured. I didn't expect like just oh I play Snake for a small amount and then it's just right in the whole rest of the time. I figured like
Hmm.
once they separated and Snake's like okay I take this part, you take this part, and then like you as the player play through this
Eventually
Raiden
switch through.
section, and
Yeah,
then you
yeah.
swap to Snake, and you do his bomb disarmament thing. That's how I thought it was gonna go, but it was yeah. I was surprised to see that like it was just Raiden the whole time.
Hmm.
Which I mean, I don't know. I guess it's the decision for the better because then you would just be. I mean, like what you would play as Snake, you'd also disarm bombs. It's like you already did enough of
Yeah.
that as Raiden, so yeah, I think it
Hmm.
makes sense the direction that
Is
they went with. It's just like on the map, I guess, slightly misleading because they show you the whole like location of it, and it's like it's important, I guess, to establish like where in respect to Snake is compared to you, I guess. But like
mhm.
on the map, I figured, oh, I'm gonna go there eventually if it's like on the map. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I got this section here. This section is also here. Oh, I'm gonna. That's a thing eventually, but it's not really. Like it just
Yeah, it's
it basically
definitely
doesn't
more of
exist.
it's pretty linear in the way that you end up going through this game,
Yeah.
which I think works for it because like the way the open sandbox elements are really just in the way that you can deal with your
Approach each
combat,
room that you go
yeah,
through, but you're
and the
gonna
different
like the
rooms.
order in which you go through each room is pretty
It's
much
going to
going to
be the
be the
same.
exact same.
Yep.
Like I mean, like if you know the game, you might backtrack to certain other areas to pick up other certain items that you couldn't have
Hmm.
earlier or something like that. And like yeah, I have no problem with these games being linear. Like just like
No.
go here now for this
Hmm.
reason. Okay, now you
For
did
such a
that thing. Go
cinematic
this thing.
experience
Yeah,
and how
like
much
it sort of
Kojima is
has to
trying
be.
to,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, just because of it's essentially all presented to you like one big movie or show or whatever. So having you go through the same beats every moment definitely helps to portray that kind of very cinematic quality to the storytelling.
Hmm. Yeah, totally. Um, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I have to say, I forget maybe
Hmm.
some random things here and there,
Yeah.
but I think that just about covers it. If we want to move on to the third entry here.
Final Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, released 3 years later, 2004.
Yep.
And man, it's another massive step forward, both graphically and
Yeah.
gameplay wise. This one is probably the biggest step forward, just because
Easily.
in this one it's completely 3D. You're in like more wide, open, not open world,
Landscapes.
but kind of
Yeah.
more like open maps that you
Open
can.
zone. Is that what the term is?
Yeah, I think so.
It's
They're
vaguely
just
what this is.
exploring a larger map and the way that you can deal with whatever enemy or objective that you're trying to get through is really up to you.
Hmm.
There was always that element, as we've discussed throughout these games, but with the use of 3D and the larger maps, it's definitely much more of a engaging gameplay loop in this one than any of the other ones before.
Hmm.
Especially because they add so many systems on top of it with the camouflage and your the different uniforms that you can wear
Hmm.
and the face paints, and then there's also that element of disguise that you can use when you're using stealth. There's honestly a ton that went into the stealth based systems in this game
Yeah.
and the AI and how they detect you when you're walking versus crawling in grass versus tall grass versus when you're on gravel or snow. It's really impressive the amount of detail that they went in in these systems.
Yeah, and there's like
Just
parts where
a
you're like
massive
in the
support.
water, and like I
Yeah.
think they detect like how the water like moves as a like reaction to you moving within it, and like they get detected that way maybe. And yeah, just like the 3D environments. I mean, like there's still it's still like that linear. Like they're basically just glorified hallways. It's just that they're prettier and they're much more open, and there's like different. There's more variation in the ways that you can go about them. Like yeah, if you want to say like the a sandbox nature that each one of these games can have, it's definitely that aspect of it is the strongest within this one out of the three of them. And yeah, I think it's maybe the best in gameplay because of that. And it stands out from the second game where it's so linear and so tight and contained, and like that makes it really difficult because of the enemies and the like. It's very narrow in the hallways, and you got to figure out how to deal with each one of them more precisely.
Yeah.
And this game's way more different. Like even from the beginning, the guards move really, really fucking slowly in this one. I don't know if that was a
Yep.
thing that you noticed, but like,
Oh,
man,
yeah.
they
Oh,
move at like 0.001 miles per hour or some shit. They
Yeah.
they just take their time. And like, I started off the game just doing like, try to do like an absolute stealth route. And then by the end of it, I just got so sick of it. It's like I'm waiting like 30 fucking minutes just to go from one screen
Yeah.
to another, just for like to wait for these guys. So I just ended up eventually the game just became like shotgun simulator where I just blast everybody away with it. Because I mean that's just if they give me all these tools that I could utilize and I could go through each of the rooms in my own way, surely I could just shotgun everybody and the game will be totally cool with that. That would be nice if that was a thing that can happen, which that is definitely in this one. They don't
Yeah.
care if I kill everybody in sight.
There would be no ramifications for that. But yeah, as much as all of these games are like branded as tactical espionage action,
They
I
still be
definitely
boiled down to
lean
shotgun everybody
towards
in the
the
face.
action. I was focusing on the action
Which like I
element
didn't
of
do in
all.
any of the others because like I wanted to I wanted to try the stealth. I wanted to give it a shot. I wanted to like see if I could figure it out in some way. And to varying degrees, I had varying degrees of success with that. I can never figure out like the hold up thing. Like I think they introduced that in the second game where like if you just point your gun at somebody when you're behind them, they'll be like, oh, I surrender or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
And like I triggered that on accident a couple of times, and then I like tried to make use of that, and then I just completely fucked it up or something by like shooting because it's like if you just release the button, like you shoot, so it's like I don't know what to be doing.
Yeah.
It's like you
It-
just keep going is what I saw the speedrunners do. They would like hold up and then move to the next screen, and then by the time it would be all like timed out to like they
Interesting.
don't get alerted or
yeah,
anything.
and it's all non-lethal.
Yeah,
And,
exactly. Yeah, which this game definitely emphasizes that non-lethal approach. Because in the other ones, by the report card of like the end of the game, it'll track how many kills you have, and based on that, it will give you a different rating. Like if you killed 0 people, or like the minimum amount, because you are required to kill some of them. In the first and second, and yeah, in the third, I think you could go through it all without doing that with the non-lethal thing, which you went for that, right?
Yes.
On
And
the bosses and just in general from like
yeah,
guard
and
to
in
guard.
all of these games, they give you a tranquilizer gun, so you don't have to just avoid your enemies. You can also shoot them, and hitting them in the head will instantly tranquilize them. And so that's kind of how I ended up going through all of these games. It feels very much like you're just gunning down everyone, but it's non-lethal, so it's whatever.
Yeah. I put them to
but yeah.
sleep. It's like Pokemon. They just faint for a little bit. They're not dead.
And with 3, there's also the introduction of the more fleshed out CQC system, which is the close quarters combat, which is just the hand-to-hand stuff if you're ever without a weapon, or if you have a knife, you can use it. But in this, they flesh it out way more with systems where you can, get behind them, choke them out,
Yeah.
or you can use them to
Distract information.
distract
Or
other
something. I don't
guards,
think I ever
or
did. Ever.
yeah, it's
It's cool that it
these games are
exists.
so ambitious.
No,
These
yeah.
games are so ambitious, and
They do a
love
lot, and it's hard to like
introducing
use
many
all of-
systems.
Yeah.
but yeah, they're impossible to keep track of sometimes, especially because they are relatively dated, and there's not really a bunch of menu systems where
Yeah.
you can go like look up tutorials on how I can possibly use this CQC system.
Especially when you
It's
have old reliable shotgun. I shoot everybody.
exactly. I'll
You
just
know.
take my trank to the face and then I'll move on. But yeah, this game is as we were talking about with the non-lethal stuff. It's a little more engaging in those systems where you have consequences to killing people, but it's a little more of a gimmick, I guess, for a boss that you fight on down the line. But besides that, I think
Hmm.
I like this game the most for its world because you're not just locked in like one specific location.
Yeah.
You end up traveling to
The
different
environment's
maps
most
and
varied.
different environments. Yeah, which is a lot of fun. It allowed for a lot more unique experiences and more memorable set pieces. I think
Hmm.
just because the problem with two was because you're always on the tanker
Yeah.
or the whatever.
The plants.
It's
Whatever
yeah,
it's called.
it's all the same environment. Whereas with this one, you're traveling different locations, different countries. Not really, but definitely different locations,
Hmm.
which is very fun.
Yeah, which again, I like that isolated sort of atmosphere of two. But like, yeah, the varying locations, like you're in swamps, you're in sewers, now you're in military compounds and stuff like that. Like, it's cool in the third game here, and it's just like completely different. Like, oh, now we're in a jungle. That's not a thing that was in the other ones before this one. So it's just like a good way to like switch it up and like not have it be the exact same thing again. You know what I mean? Like it contributes to that. Like each one is an evolution of each other. Each one builds upon the previous entries that came before it, and they're like considering what could we do differently this time that will make it stand out from the others, while also not completely removing like or negating like the existence of like the past ones of like having them be pointless or something, like completely just replacing it, and having them each like stand out for different reasons here.
Mhm.
And yeah,
I think this
the world in this is cool.
Yeah, I think this one definitely has the most amount of things added to it, mostly system-wise, because if you've, it's easy to forget, but this game introduced a ton of survival systems where you have food or like flora and fauna
You
that
had
you
like
can
a
use
stamina
to treat
meter.
injuries. Had wounds that you could have that you needed to deal with like broken bones or burns or poison or like if you're bleeding, if you're stabbed or
Right.
something. There's a bunch of different systems that are all like kind of used to try and ground you and make it more of a almost a survival simulator,
Yeah.
which is implemented well for the most part. I think at the end of the day, it's somewhat forgettable because
Yeah.
like the stamina system is never really a problem. You can mostly forget about it, and then the
Yeah.
wound system is fairly easy to stock up on all of the necessary Medicaid
Yeah.
and supplies that you need. So it's never really a problem. But I also just played on one single
Yeah,
difficulty
yeah,
without
exactly.
using it.
On the
So
higher ones that like the stamina will drain quicker
mhm,
or whatever. And yeah, I remember at,
yeah.
like the start of the game, like, oh shit, I have to fucking hunt things and like
Oh, yeah,
survive on my
am I
own.
gonna
Like,
have to
oh my
cook?
god,
Is
how
this
am I
gonna
gonna
have
do
to be
that? It's
wild?
like, oh, I just crouch down and like crawl,
Yeah,
and there's like a rabbit or a snake, and I just stick my knife in them, or a
yep,
fish in like the water, and like I shoot at it, and I get a thing, food that I
yeah.
can eat.
Or if you just like look around in boxes or
Yeah,
behind,
they have
like
it like all over the
there's
place,
plenty
like
of
just
rations.
wild
Yeah.
animals or just like straight up like food rations and stuff.
But it's cool because some of these like wild animals that you could pick up are poisoned, and you
Yeah.
can use this poison in various ways to deal with, specific enemies or bosses.
Oh, really?
It's just really interesting to see how many systems they added to this game, and then how they implemented it into the wider game in order to like have that interactability and really unique kind of engagement with the player.
Yeah, because wait, so you could pick up like a poison dart frog and then use that against the enemy somehow?
I'm pretty sure, yeah. Or like if you, I can't remember if it was with the tear But that boss
Oh
fight
yeah, does
where
he
he
like
like
eat food?
you see with it, or yeah,
Is he the dude who jumps from tree to tree and like is
yeah,
invisible? Okay,
exactly.
okay,
And like
okay.
you can kind of there's many ways you
Learn to
can
eat
deal with.
food.
Yeah, these bosses are also maybe these bosses might honestly be my favorite gameplay wise,
Oh really?
although I don't think I like them quite as much as character wise
No,
as
yeah,
the first one.
they're maybe the
Um,
weakest in terms of character. I don't know.
mhm.
Like they vary a
It's
lot.
almost specifically that way because they're just introduced as
They're like
the
yeah, half of
pain,
them
the
are real
fear, the end.
characters, half of them
Yeah.
are like concepts,
Hmm.
just like exaggerated. Like it feels like I'm in an anime again. Like there's
Yeah, and
overwhelmingly
some
like
of them
edgy
aren't
dudes.
even introduced through the story.
Yeah, they're
Like
just
the
you
first
just
time
fight
you
them. Like the
meet the
fire dude.
pain or the fear, yeah, the fury is like, who are these people? Where did they come from? Why are
Is
they
the fear
here?
is the fear the hornet dude, or
The
is that the
pain is
pain?
the Hornet
Okay,
dude at the
because I mean, like
beginning.
he
Yeah,
technically does something in the first section of the game when like there's like a bunch of wasps that like I don't know do summon when Snake's on the bridge. And I mean, like the standouts
true.
are
Yeah,
the
yeah,
boss, Volgan, and then
yeah.
Ocelot because he's
Yes,
Ocelot.
for sure. Hmm.
And I really like the relationship that this snake, because it's a different snake than Solid.
Right.
The nickname he goes by in this one is Naked, but like nobody calls him that because there's no other snakes,
It's
so
just
it's like
Snake.
it's
Yeah,
pointless to. uh,
yeah.
it really only exists for the player to like, oh, it's
Hmm.
Naked Snake rather than Solid
Yeah,
Snake, you know. And yeah, I really enjoyed the relationship between him and Ocelot and how that evolved over the story. It was a cool
yeah.
like
That was great.
just like
Hmm.
rivalry, also sort
Yeah.
of mentorship thing.
Hmm.
So yeah, that was cool for the boss here.
Overall, the story in this one is not as messy as the first one. It's a little strange at first because you have like, oh yeah, this is the virtuous mission, and this is your mission, and this is what you're doing, and then very quickly that kind of goes sideways. You're betrayed by your mentor, the boss, and then you're like, oh, everything goes wrong, and so you're kind of quickly told to go on another mission. This mission being Snake Eater, and you have to essentially kill the boss in order to stop World War III and also to end Volgan and whatever he's trying to do
Yeah,
with these stolen nuclear
retrieve
missiles.
the what was it called? Retrieve the fucking sauce of something.
Yeah. I can't even remember what all the code names and various like references to whatever they are. Um,
Yeah, this one it felt like it punished you more for me, like me when I did that shitty strategy in two, where I would just like go to the next room and then just like die, and then I would like the if you are at a certain health threshold and you die, it'll like respawn you and reset your health at like a certain minimum value, and it would also do that for the boss fights, like when you restart them, it would
mhm.
like reset you to like some like minimum health total or like whatever health total you were at before maybe. And in
Mhm.
this game they try to punish you a bit more for that because like whatever injuries you sustain and like health threshold you're at the start of a fight, that's what you'll be reset to when you lose the fight. So it's sort of like it wants you to like not just completely fuck around and get shot at a billion times. By the time you like it, just like throughout each room, and like by the time like I noticed it when I did the Ocelot fight, which happened somewhat early. Which I like that one. I'd say like maybe half of the boss fights in this one. Some of them were more annoying than others, but most of them were like not super tough. You know, like I would
Mhm.
put them on the same level maybe as the second games, whereas like
Mhm.
it's sort of a right amount of balance of difficulty and yeah, at least on normal mode. I don't know how the
And
other ones
and
are.
in this game, it introduced the concept of a death pill, which you could use
Oh
to
yeah,
essentially go to a game over. But when you're in that game over screen, you have the option of taking a revival pill, and that was like used in really interesting ways with certain bosses, specifically with the fear, where you could like fake your death and he
yeah,
would come out, and then you could kind of gank him,
yeah.
and
He
then
he
with
he literally just dies of fear, like by you being
yeah,
revived or something.
and
I think
you could
that's
do a
what
similar
the
thing
I think that's what
with the
the
sorrow. Um, I know.
Oh yeah. Well, that's what you do at the end of that one. Or at
Yeah,
least that's
is
what
you
I did.
have
But
to.
you could,
It's,
yeah, you could kill yourself at the start of that and
mhm,
just like grenaded your
kind of
face
skip through it.
or your
Yeah.
chest, and yeah. But that
Hmm.
was I don't know if I guess we could talk about that now since it was brought up.
Hmm.
Because that was like the one thing that I knew about three specifically. I didn't really know anything about two from when I knew about Psycho Mantis, and that's about it.
Hmm.
And just like he's a weird dude that exists. But the sorrow I'd seen at some point, just a YouTube video about like, oh, there is this like my memories of the YouTube video talking about it was like there's some sort of cool, interesting, weird moment that happens when you walk in a swamp in a linear fashion. Like that's what I remembered from this. So
Hmm.
like I got to like a similar set piece of it earlier in the game where like it's there's like it's basically the same like assets I think
Hmm.
in game where it's like the section where like there's the sentries that are like floating overhead and
Right.
there
Yeah.
like there's the
Yeah.
lights over
Yeah.
them.
And you
I
have to
thought
go under
it's
the
this is the
water
part
and
of that
over.
cool the cool part that that YouTube video
Hmm.
talked about. But no, once the sorrow started happening, it was immediately apparent of like
Yes.
this weird thing of like I mean, since you did the run in a non-lethal way,
Hmm.
maybe you didn't experience it, but me and my shotgunning run spree here, it's a really cool set piece where it's like it's basically every character that you've killed up to that point will just like appear as a ghost as you like walk against them, and you have to avoid them or like they'll attack you, and this like fucking jump scare will appear on screen.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's weird and interesting, and for me it lasted a very long time because I killed a lot of people. It lasted maybe
Right.
like 10 minutes or something. I don't
It
know how it
lasted very
was for
long for
you.
me too,
Oh really?
because
It might be just the same
it's
length.
just an empty length of a river, but it's you still have to walk through it at the same pace.
Hmm.
So that's a
Yeah.
little frustrating, especially
Interesting.
because at the end of mine, it bugged out and I didn't die. So I was just waiting, and I was unsure of what to do. So I
Yeah,
reloaded
you
it
didn't know like you
once
could
in
kill
order to do it.
yourself and that
Yeah,
would trigger it.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, because I guess in the when you go through a normal playthrough and you kill at least a few people, then the ghost will do damage to you. But if
But
you
on a
play through
non-lethal
non-lethally,
run, he won't do
mhm,
anything, so you just have to do it yourself.
yeah,
Really
I think
interesting.
at the end you're supposed to get killed, but
Okay,
something bugged out in my playthrough,
interesting.
and I survived for some reason. So um, yeah, who would have thought that living at the end of a boss fight is actually a bad thing?
Is the way to lose.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But it was a very cool set piece, and recontextualizes the game that you're playing in a unique way instead of just being like, oh yeah, you killed a bunch of people, you are bad. It's like you actually have to play through the consequences of your action instead of just being told,
yeah.
which adds a cool element
So
to
here's
it.
the thing, like I guess like it like is the message of that section like you shouldn't have killed all of these hundreds of or 60 people or whatever because
Mhm.
like the people that I killed are like the main
Nameless
bosses in the game
henchmen.
so far who are like the most
Hmm.
twisted like evil edgy anime overlords ever. It's like
Hmm.
I feel like those kills are justified like a little bit, and then everybody else is just like a station guard in a military. Like they know what they're getting into. Like did I have to kill them? No, clearly not. 'Cause
Yeah.
the game is designed around the fact that you don't have to, but it's like the characters specifically who Snake played a role in killing. It's like the exact lives that they lived
Hmm.
were ones that you know it's what they signed up for. Like I don't
Yeah,
know, like
it should be an expectation when you are engaging in warfare that you may have to lay down your life at some point. And so, yes, Snake is not necessarily doing anything wrong, but
yeah, it's
still,
still
the
interesting.
star adds another element to the game.
Yeah, and
This
it's not even
game,
like the main message of the entire game as a
no,
whole. It's just one encounter. It's just one boss fight that happens,
exactly,
and it happens at
and
a
it kind of feeds
really
into the
important part of the game because he's
yeah.
basically like is sort of defeated on his own. Like he loses a bunch of his stuff. He's injured. He's hopeless. It was right after like the torture. There's
Hmm.
because there's another torture section
Another
in
one.
this game. And he loses his eye and like he's just like uh,
Hmm.
blocked out of like from everything. So it's like he's already at
The
his lowest,
lowest,
and it's just
yeah.
like kicking him while he's down type of thing. And
Hmm.
it's a really cool boss fight. Like I say, it's like not really a fight. It's
Yeah,
like a
but it's
boss
more of a set
encountered thing,
piece. Hmm.
set piece. It's cool though.
Yeah. And another one that I'm interested to see your thoughts on was the end, the sniper, the old man, who I didn't realize that you could just kill him the first time that you see him when he's getting wheeled back
Yeah,
into
apparently.
the
Yeah,
thing.
which is interesting.
I couldn't get that. It was too difficult to get a shot off because he disappears so quickly.
Oh, really?
But his actual boss fight is fairly interesting in how you're supposed to engage with it. Because I knew this boss fight because of the way that you can
Yeah, I think I
gimmick
had
it
also known
by
about this
just
before I played it.
fast forwarding your in-game or your system clock, which
Mhm.
will thus in turn fast forward the in-game clock, and you can go like 10 years in the future and he'll just die because he's an old man,
Yeah, I think
which
you
is
just need to
fun.
go like a week or something.
Yeah. hmm
And he'll just
Um,
die from that. I like sort of wanted to try that just to get the footage, but like there was this also like if you just quit the game and
mhm,
if you just quit the game, like your stamina meter over time will refill. But I was
mhm,
never able to trigger that. I don't know if you were, because I tried all sorts of things for like the
mhm,
remastered collection. I tried like uh, just quitting to the menu while keeping the game open and putting my console to sleep. I tried like quitting the menu, like out of the like inner menu, and just going to like the master collection menu
mhm,
of the game, and then just doing that and putting it to sleep. I tried straight up just closing the game entirely and putting it to sleep, and nothing would like, an entire day would go by, but like the stamina meter I had when I left the game was the same like amount
mhm,
like when I went back in, and I assumed like whatever system they would use for that would also sort of be the thing that they would use to count the amount of like in-game time for the end to get that
mhm.
like sort of Easter egg uh, death victory there. So I don't know. I never tried it on my end, but I figured it would be.
Mhm.
I'm sure there's a way to do it on the Master Collection. It's just I
Yeah.
couldn't replicate a similar system, so I was like, probably couldn't do this sort of thing. But I would
How
imagine you
did you
can.
end up fighting him? Did you just end up using thermal goggles?
The proper way to defeat him,
hmm
which was long. It took me about 30 minutes
hmm
to do, where it's just like you sort of track him, you follow him around. The most helpful the most helpful thing for me was looking for like the his sniper rifle had like a reflection to it, like when
Yeah.
you go in first person mode, so you could sort of like make out where he is based on that. Various other things, like sometimes I would just let him shoot at me to like from there get like be able to tell like where he's shooting from, because
Right.
once you
And
start
then
shooting
kind
he'll
of
appear on the
hide. Yeah.
map, and then you
Yeah.
could like look in the map to see like which direction to point your camera to see like where he's at.
hmm
So that's what I sort of eventually did during the second half of the encounter. It wasn't overly difficult. I think I did it in one try. But yeah, it was just like it wasn't even something I was immensely bothered by, the fact that it took so long. Like I thought it was interesting, honestly.
hmm
I was more so just interested in it than annoyed. Like if I had died near like the end of the end fight, like
hmm
right at he had only a little bit of health left, and he slept me, because he puts you to sleep
Yeah.
rather than killing you, and it'll put you into the prison like some distance back, so you have to backtrack on top of that, which sounds
hmm
annoying, because I feel like you might as well just reload your save to like right
Right.
before that,
Then have to do that all over
rather
again
than
because
redoing the
you're
entire
already going to
session.
have to do it all over again.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Um,
What is that? What you ended up doing? Just the
I did a
normal
similar thing.
strat?
I ended up using the microphone because you're given another tool that allows you to kind of ping
Oh, you
audio
could do that. You
throughout.
catch him
Yeah.
snoring or something.
Yeah, he
Oh,
deeply breathes,
oh,
and
interesting.
so I used that in addition to the the his scope gleam or lens flare, in order to figure out where he
Interesting.
is, and then you kind of just sneak up behind him and
Yeah,
unload the trank in him because
for the non-lethal
with
way.
that, yeah, because otherwise you're gonna have to use a sniper rifle, and
Yeah,
that'll
that's
will
what I
obviously
used. I
kill
just
him.
shot him.
In order to get him down non-lethally, you have to sneak up behind him,
Hmm.
empty a load of clips into him, and then you do that a few times because he always runs away.
Yeah.
But I really wanted to use my thermal goggles in this one, but unfortunately, I did completely miss them. And so for the entire game, I never had thermal
Oh no. Yeah.
goggles,
Yeah. Yeah.
which
Yeah.
was specifically an issue for this fight and the Fury
Oh yeah.
fight.
I don't know why I
Uh,
didn't do that. So I'm sure
I
that's a thing
just
that you could do to make it
yep,
easier. I don't
yeah.
think I did that.
Because I was like, where am I supposed to find this guy in a massive map
Yeah, it
that
uses
is also
camouflage to
it's a
blend in.
multi-pronged, and it's two maps back to back. So you go through another loading screen, and
Yeah,
there's another
it's
area
it's
that you
it's
have
a
to
big
fight through.
area to go through.
Yeah,
It's at least
it,
a
it's
couple loading screens. It's like 3 different areas.
yeah, it's definitely one of the cooler boss fights, despite how like
Definitely.
gimmicky he is. It's unique and swinging for the fences, and very memorable for all that reason.
Yeah. How'd you
Um,
fare like against the not the Ocelot fight, but like the part where like his brigade is like after like the cutscenes with Eva, which we could talk about her a little bit in a
mhm.
little bit. But like the part where like is in like that building or you're in that building and you have to like take out all of them. Did you do
Was
okay in
that at
that
the like
section?
towards the beginning?
Yeah,
Um, I,
because that
I
part
think I
really
did
I really
okay.
struggled on that one.
There were a lot of enemies, like way more than I was
There's like
expecting.
6 of them.
I'm pretty sure I like was able to hide under the bed and then like
They couldn't find you.
avoid them for that, and then kind of take a more stealthy approach by
Yeah.
like leaving through a back entrance or something like that. But I don't think I had too much difficulty with
That
that
shit took
one.
me forever for some reason. Like I just couldn't get like all of them like fucked on,
Mhm.
like all at the same
Yeah.
time. They would always. I guess I was just bad at the game. It's probably the easiest section of the game or something.
It is very early on in the game, so you
Yeah,
have less tools to deal with
yeah,
everything.
definitely.
But still, just the amount of like freedom that you have in this game, due to the way that the systems are implemented,
Hmm.
it allows for like me to have a very different experience than you, which is really cool, I
No,
think.
yeah, totally. The one like thing that sort of rubbed me the wrong way was like you have the intro to the game, which is about how long was that? Like 2 or so hours, and then there's a time
Yeah,
skip.
maybe even less.
Yeah, like an hour and a half, maybe, or an hour. And then there's a time skip, and then once you get back into the gameplay after the time skip that happens, which it's a brief time skip that's like 6 months or so, or is it
It's
a
like
couple of years? I can't remember.
I think it might be even quicker. It's like weeks,
A couple months.
because
Okay.
they need to get those the stolen
No, yeah,
weapons or whatever very quickly,
yeah.
because otherwise, it's the Cold War and shit's gonna pop off if you
Shit's
don't
gonna
do this or
bang.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they drop you into the game again, and you're basically just going through the same exact locations again, like
Mhm.
immediately.
Yeah, for the
Like it's
very
like
beginning.
it's
Mhm.
like we already just did this. Like it's slightly
Yeah,
different because it's at night, while the other part was during the day, I guess. And then like, but it's just like the same set of locations.
it
Like it's
is.
not very
Yeah.
long, but it's
Hmm.
like it's the exact same building where we had to find Sokolov, but now we're meeting up with
Yeah.
Eva there. It's like what
Yeah. I
it was
think
just
I
weird.
was less jarred by it just because when you're going through it the second time, I knew not to
It's
like.
quicker.
Yeah, exactly. Because the first time you're playing through it, I was, first of all, taken aback because of how different it is from two. And I'm like, oh, what are all these new systems?
No, yeah.
Do I have to engage with them? You know, Depending on your difficulty, you don't have to engage with many of the systems, like the camouflage and the face paint. It's not super necessary, but it's cool to help you kind of engage with it.
Hmm.
But once you're coming back through a section of the game that you've already played before, it's pretty easy to just blitz
Yeah,
through it
sure.
and get to the point where you want to be.
No, yeah, I get
Um,
you. And yeah, I don't think I said my piece on the survival aspect of it. I think it's okay. Like
yeah.
it's like nothing like it's like, oh well, I just have to go into the menu sometimes and go to the camouflage section and like fucking find the
Push
right
this out.
the
Yeah.
right percentage of the thing. It's like I don't know how intuitive of a gameplay aspect that was. There were
Mhm.
like optional things you could pick up along the way that make certain parts of the games easier.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I don't know, I'm fine with that. I guess like why not, whatever. Um,
Yeah.
but
One
yeah,
of the
from the
rewards One of the rewards for killing the bosses non-lethally
yeah
were unique face paints or unique camouflages that would give
outfits.
you like different beneficial perks outside of just having 80% camouflage or whatever. There's like one where like I can't even remember what all of them did, but they were situationally useful, and I did end up using some of them in order to
Oh really?
get around
Hmm.
certain difficulties that I was facing. But yeah, as we were discussing, I guess meeting Ava, it would be a good thing to talk about her character. She is somewhat similar to the Meryl kind of character, where she's your backup or your kind of one like ally, your
Yeah.
physical ally in the game.
And she's also doing something similar where she's
Yeah,
disguised as the
underground.
enemy,
Yeah,
but it's a little bit
yeah,
more emphasized in the
undercover.
story. In this one, where she's
Hmm.
taking on a whole like identity
Hmm.
there.
Yeah, but her character design as Ava is very funny, very over the top with
Yeah, just
her
the cleavage.
titties out. It's
Yeah,
just a
it's just like the
jumpsuit.
more graphical detail, and it's like
Yep.
okay, now it's an actual sexy lady rather than five
Yeah. Yeah.
polygons on my
Yep.
screen.
And it's like,
And
oh,
they
this
do this
is.
really interesting thing, which I actually really love it because it adds like a type of interaction to just like the cutscenes, and that's like the first person mode. Like if you hold down a button, you get to see a first person in
Oh
a
yeah,
couple of
yeah. I
scenes,
did that a few
and
times.
yeah, it'll show the button prompt on screen. But there's also cutscenes where that'll just take place, and you could press the first person mode button without the prompt showing up and like look around during them not all of the cutscenes but like some of them sometimes. And there's like I think it was mostly just for like Easter eggs, like the Ocelot in this game does like this signature pose thing move thing. I don't know what the
Such a
fuck it
weird
was.
character of any like
I don't know what the fuck it
rar.
was.
Yeah, it's so weird.
But it's not like that. I see you. It's just he
No.
pushes his hands and I don't know.
Yeah, he's
But
just a
like
goofy ass character in this one.
yeah, he's fun in this. I like him.
Mhm.
And like there was like I never got them myself, but I was reading in the Metal Gear Archives thing where it's like they list off like a bunch of Easter eggs and details in that book thing on the digital through the Master Collection. And like during like the very final cutscene of the game when like the presidents are like or whoever is like awarding you the medal, you could go first person mode there, which I actually did.
Mm.
But like if you move the camera a little bit, you could see Ocelot out the window doing the thing at you.
Really?
Apparently, I guess he's just there for some
That's-
reason doing it. Yeah, like there's like the 2 or 3 other parts of the game where you could go first person and he like does the thing at you. Like I
Find
think when
him.
you're about
What
to
the
face
hell?
off against Volgan or something like that,
Mhm.
it's interesting. I don't know why it's a thing, but it is. And like when he's discovering Eva is disguised as whichever character name.
By smelling her.
Yeah,
It's
which is
just
by
like,
the
okay.
perfume, which I don't know. It's
Yeah.
interesting. Like why not?
Hmm.
But yeah, just the moments with Eva, it was like a little bit too like like pandering. Like,
Gratuitous pandering. Yeah.
yeah, with the first you got just the cleavage, okay, fine, whatever. But then you have the actual characterization of her where she's much more flirty with Snake, who's very non-sexual. And he's sort of like I want to say he was that way. This is a different Snake, obviously. This big boss we're talking about is what he eventually becomes.
Naked Snake.
Yeah, naked Snake. It's interesting because he's the least sexual Snake, but he's got naked.
Right. That's his code name.
What did Kojima mean by this?
Hmm.
And yet, because the first Snake was talking about how fat Meryl's fucking ass was multiple times, horn dogging over that. And in this one, he's sort of the complete opposite, where she's like coming on to him like a bunch of times, and he's just like
And
not at all
constantly turning her down.
into it. Yeah.
And
And like the dynamic that like I'm cool with it, fine, whatever. I guess I did like it when she was because they essentially repeat the it's like a similar escape sequence near the end of this game compared to like the first game when you're escaping with Meryl and she's driving and you're shooting the guns. And it was in this one it was much more like action sequenced up where you're like
it was a longer
you fight like the Metal Gear
multi-phase.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was long and cool and interesting.
It was fun.
Part of the game.
Because I think you had like unlimited RPGs or something.
You had
like that, so
unlimited
you're able to
grenades,
just, like,
unlimited everything. You just like go to town.
it's funny. Like for as much as like the survival elements are like heightened in this one, it's like you are just carrying around a massive RPG with unlimited ammo while you're just sitting in the sidecar of a motor car, like in fucking 1950, 1960s.
Yeah, it's like this one
okay.
takes place in the late 1960s, like 68, 69,
Yeah.
maybe 70. I don't know. It's something around
peak
that.
Cold War. I think it's Khrushchev who was in charge of the USSR at that point. So, but yeah, what was I going to talk about? Besides, her overt sexuality,
Sure.
it is kind of cool how she's recontextualized at the end, where it's like, oh yeah, she's actually another triple agent or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, there's plenty of those in throughout the series, but I think it does add more to her character than just whatever Meryl was. I think she has a bit more character to her
Yeah,
than
definitely.
the original damsel in distress.
Oh, anyways, you could go into first person mode when she's like getting changed or like being. It's funny because like in the cutscene, it's like it's directed. It's like shot in such a way where like you can see the cleavage or whatever, but that's not necessarily the focus. And then you go into first person
Just
mode, and
going
Snake is
first person,
just
it's
straight
just
up
there.
looking straight there. It made me laugh. It's like
Yeah.
okay,
It's like,
okay,
it's like
man.
it's funny because it's like so out of pocket.
Yeah.
But also it's like
It's
this
against
was
his
just
character a
it
little
was
bit. He
marketed.
like gets a little flustered, but he's also
Yeah.
like I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess maybe he has no like sexual urges or anything. It's not like that. It's just that like
She does eventually
he
seduce him at the
controls
very
himself
end.
well, I guess,
Yeah,
or like I don't know.
exactly.
He like
He-
recognizes that there's other priorities and stuff, but
right. And he still
he's
doesn't
still
even know
sort of
if
a
he
horn
trusts
dog. It's
her.
just more subtle than
Yeah.
solid, I guess.
Right. Because she's one that you're not even sure if you can trust because she didn't have the proper code name or
Yeah.
whatever.
You were
And
supposed
so
to meet
there's
up
always
Adam
that.
and Eve, but it was just Eve.
Yeah.
Oops.
Right. Which was fun.
Hmm.
But yeah, Volgan is the other antagonist.
He's
We'll get
basically
more
just
into the
Lieutenant
boss.
Surge from Pokemon.
Yeah,
Military electrical dude.
Yeah, yeah. It was like
He's the manga version of that. Because in the Pokemon manga, some of the gym leaders are evil for some reason.
Mhm.
So it's just the manga version of Lieutenant
It is
Surge
just
amped up.
him. Yeah, and he's world domination, trying to be his own power to take over Russia and take over the world. Essentially, not super memorable as a villain, but that's because he's bounced out by the boss, who is your mentor and who is the greatest American agent of all time.
Yeah.
And she's like the number one combatant and like special agent. She can do it all. She's Snake before Snake.
Yeah, exactly.
And so
She's the boss before Snake takes the
big
title.
boss. Yeah, and so that element is you meet her multiple times through the story, and each of those
And she just
engagements
one-ups you every
are
fucking
great.
time. She just
Yeah,
is like-
exactly. Like she taught you everything as Naked Snake, and you can't do anything against her.
Mhm.
She beats your ass constantly throughout the series, and honestly, like causes you a lot of pain. Like she leads to your capture and eventual torture.
makes you fall off the bridge or whatever, and you have to heal yourself.
Breaks multiple bones. Yeah, but
she's
it's
still
all
like
balanced.
sympathetic to you throughout the whole thing
Yeah,
because it's like Volgan is like, I will fucking kill him, and then she's like, let me handle it, which she's probably gonna go easy on him slightly, as in like he lives rather than straight up just murder death upon him. So she's still like a caring, like essentially like overseer person to him, like a little bit, even though she's on the other side. It's sort of like an interesting dynamic where she has to like still sort of play the role on that, like, because she's like a double agent also, like you could probably already assume because she's like a decent person and stuff. But like by the end, it's when Eva is doing like her narration over like the sort of end scenes of the game, and it's like the scene where he's like at the grave and he's like saluting to her and stuff. It's like it's a nice
classic.
ending there to the game, and the fight is like the final confrontation you have with her, like that set piece is so just like it's so different from like when you think final battles, you don't think a beautiful field of white lilies or whatever the flower was, and just like no music, just full on atmosphere, and like in concept I love it, but like the actual fight itself is so long and repetitive. It's like annoying.
Exactly. It's like there's so many elements to these games where it's like iconic. The visuals and the concepts behind many of these fights.
Yeah, like the
and
reason why it's
different
happening at
mechanics
the point it's happening. Like I mean,
so
this is just the
cool.
pinnacle of
Yeah.
that like example that we're talking about, where like in concept it's really cool, but the actually doing it is like
Yeah, the gameplay is weird. She's hiding behind trees, and you have to rush out and like snipe her sometimes, or just like shotgun her in the face.
that's what I did. Knock her to the ground, shotgun her twice to the face, reset.
Yep.
It's like annoying.
Yeah, it's definitely it's a product of the time. game from 2004. We've been talking about it, but the fact that they get all of these concepts and these moments so right, just like conceptually, is very cool, and
Yeah.
it
And
leads
justified in
to
the story.
it leads to the kind of cult status that these games have had,
Yeah.
where it's like
It's a matter of looking
I
back
knew.
and like not
Mhm,
actually playing through them at like because we're playing through these at the first time at like our age as adults. A lot of the people who have played these games did so when they were younger, and they're
right.
looking back fondly upon them, and when they return to them they're not having as hard of a time as we are because they've already gone through that when they were kids, and they're like not going to remember
Exactly.
that like too much of like the struggling behind that and stuff. Like the good shit will be what remains in their nostalgic brains, and so like us complaining about it is just a result of the difference at which point in time we're messing with these.
Yeah,
um
these games are contextual masterpieces where the gameplay is contextually good for the time, but right now it's ass. But the story and the characters are all like consistently standouts,
yeah,
just because of how ambitious and weird and strange and unique they all are.
yeah,
I think Boss she gets a great send off.
yeah,
Her kind of monologue about what the U.S. did to her and how much she has been, used and abused, and
hmm,
not that she's doing what she's done to get back at them, but it's essentially just a way for her to get agency over her life and do something that she has a certain amount of control over, which then is passed on to Snake.
yeah,
Snake becomes Big Boss, and we haven't played through 4 or 5, but I know that Big Boss is obviously a really fundamental character in the rest of the Metal Gear Solid, because I guess we haven't talked about it, but Metal Gear Solid 3 is the very first in all of the Metal Gear games,
in chronology.
chronologically. So it's kind of the very start of the story, and Boss is that very kind of the catalyst
Yeah,
of Snake, and the character that will
yeah, it's
eventually go
basically the
on to
start
produce
of
the
everything. The
snakes that we know. Yep.
Les Enfants Terribles, which created Solid, Liquid, and Solidus, and the results of all that. And yeah, he was technically in the first game, in the first Metal Gear, in just Metal Gear. He was basically the role of the Colonel that he has in Metal Gear Solid 1, where like the boss, he was just called the boss. And he
Yeah,
would
I guess it
communicate
was.
with Solid Snake and just like give off like the mission is blah blah blah. We gotta fuck up this fort, man, or like whatever like whatever the hell you were supposed to do in Metal Gear
Yeah,
One. I have no idea.
stop the enemy. Stop World War.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Stop the nukes.
yeah.
Like, yeah, okay.
I guess technically we were in jungles in Metal Gear and Metal Gear Two, because I was like, oh, it's a unique set piece in
Mm,
three. It's never been done in the series before, but technically in 1 and 2, you're like in a jungle type setting. Which,
mhm.
but as far as the solid games go, which the things that in the modern day and age people care about, the again like the environmental details, like the locations you go to in 3 are unique,
Definitely, yeah,
for
a
that.
step above.
Um,
Mhm.
and yeah, the for taking out the boss at the end of 3, and like you have to you take down her health bar. She does like that cutscene, and then you're just like the camera just like goes to the top down perspective of like you're in the field, the wind is blowing, she's just lying there, and you have
Mhm.
to pull the
Yeah,
trigger on her.
yeah,
And I also
yeah.
found out that during that scene and also other scenes, you could press the zoom button, and it'll like
Mhm,
zoom in, and you could spam it a
mhm.
bunch of times, and it'll just like constantly zoom in and out a bunch of times. And I kept doing that for
Just as
that
a
scene,
fun
and then the
thing.
next scenes is like
Mhm,
they just let you do that, I guess, the whole game, maybe. And I just only found out about it during maybe the most dramatic cutscene in the entire game, and
mhm.
so I spammed it during that, and it's funny. Um, and yeah, followed up by that is another encounter with Ocelot, which is nice. I think also it's like you have to choose a gun, but one of them is
Mhm,
not loaded with anything. The other one has a bullet inside, but the bullet is a blank. So it's just kind of like
mhm.
no matter what you
No
pick,
matter what, yeah,
shit will.
he'll be fine.
Yeah, it was a
And
cool
he
moment.
lives, and he'll go on to do great things
Cause
in
a
four
bunch
and
of
five
havoc in the
once we
fucking other games.
play
He should
through.
have killed him
Yeah.
naked because he had the
Hmm.
chance to, but he wanted to be a nice guy or something.
Yeah.
It went
His
against
character has like.
yeah, it went against my version of Snake, who just shotgunned everybody. My version of Snake, if that was in the story, he would
Mhm.
have just retcon the
Ocelot's not
entire
making it out,
Metal
bro.
Gear Solid 1 and 2. Ocelot is not making it out of this shit. Exactly.
But his character has constantly changed throughout the games, which is
I
very
like him the most in this
cool.
one.
Yeah, because it's such a wild departure.
He's the most
from
like
his
established and like
depictions
like
in
the
2 and
most
3, or
development
2 and 4.
occurs within him. And the other games, like I like him. I guess he's fine.
Yeah,
He's cool.
he gets to play the kind of almost bumbling rival
Yeah.
to Naked Snake in this one, and it's funny because he's like, you only using the Colt revolver, and it's like, this is the best
dialogue
gun
about
in
like
the
the lore of
world.
like the gun he's
Yeah.
using and why it's so shitty and stupid and why
Yep.
he's an idiot for using it in the way he's using it. Like I love that
he's like-
scene.
Yep. Yeah, and he learns through Snake constantly keeping him alive for some reason, being like, hey, yo, you'd be a lot more effective if you use the gun this way or whatever. And he does, and
Yeah.
he becomes more of a
It's cool.
force to be reckoned with as you constantly go up against him. But you also get characterization through him and dealing with Volgan, and him realizing that I can't remember what group Volgan is a part of. GRU, right? GRU.
That sounds correct.
It's very funny.
In the second game, it
'cause
was Dead
it's
Cell
GRU.
or whatever.
Yeah. And so he
Minions
goes
Rise of
through his
Gru.
own. Yeah. He does go through a very similar kind of character arc as Naked Snake, where they both become, disillusioned with the powers that be and the people that are telling them what to do, and eventually go out to seek their own fortune.
Volgan
because-
or Ocelot?
Ocelot,
Okay.
yeah, because Volgan is the power that be, whereas for Snake it's Major Zero, I think, right? Is the person who takes the place of the Colonel as the man in the hat.
The Kodak pupil this is maybe my least favorite bucket of them here. The weapons specialist dude, he is apparently he goes on to become the DARPA chief. By the time Metal Gear Solid 1, I only learned about that from the Metal Gear archives, like reading that, because I don't think that's a thing that's
not really
explained in the
mentioned,
main material. It seems like supplementary notes that the devs had that it's like, I don't know how to include this. I guess we'll just put it in the lore in some random book, which they did. So that was it was fine, like whatever. The save person, field medic, what was her name? Medic something medic. Paramedic. She was like a movie buff. And she would just ramble off about random old movies.
It's just self-indulgent from Kojima.
It's like Tarantino dialogue, where it's just he's writing himself in all the scenes. It's just
it's just circle jerking around. Oh my god, this movie is so cool, and this is why it's cool. And you can kind of see the elements that are taken from some of these movies and have been represented it throughout all of these games and the series.
While also limiting it to like only movies out by that point in time, which is like it's still a lot of great movies by that point, but it's like you're missing out on like 40 years almost worth of stuff there. Between the game taking place and the time real world time the game was made. But and then like the I mean, there's no like matching the Colonel like from 1 in terms of that like role, and even from 2, like I love the voice of him and just like the way he speaks and is implemented, and like the character is much more important in 1,
2,
and 2,
because he's actually a character
in 1 he's
in
like going back and forth like on because on the first part it's like okay, they're a solid team together. And then over the course of time, Snake in 1 starts to trust the Colonel less and less through various reasons. And some of that sort of happens in 2. And then, eventually in 2, it just sort of divulges. And then the Colonel's saying random gibberish as Japanese softcore porn plays in the top right corner of your screen, which I don't know if you ever triggered that.
Or
what. I don't know what the fuck was that shit, Kojima.
Yeah.
He leans more into that in 3, where there's like a bunch of random like pinup posters of like softcore okay,
Japanese models that are in the locker,
just like random models. It's like, am I playing a Yakuza game? Like, what is this?
It's just it's Japanese culture. I don't know, man.
It's not in the 19 fucking 60s where they have like the modern ass cameras to get the like that didn't make sense in lore. Kojima, explain that. How did how are you using modern models in the current day and age, but they're in the 1960s? That doesn't make sense. And they're in fucking Russia or whatever. Japanese.
That's true.
I guess everybody in Russia has a Japanese girl fetish.
Yeah, they're big fans over there in Crew.
There's the part where you got to disguise as the dude who looks like Raiden, and the
Yeah.
character of that. I only figured out of this by like reading the wiki later, but like there's like Volgan and him have like a gay sort of thing going on. I don't know if
Really?
yeah,
I did
apparently.
not know about
Where
that
so
lore.
in Metal Gear Solid 2, I had to look it up because I was curious. Because like in Metal Gear Solid 2, when you talk
Oh, that
to
makes sense.
the president in
'cause
the
he
one room, he grabs your balls,
Oh my
and
God,
the reason
it's like, that's
in
why.
Metal Gear Solid 2 he does that is to like there was the cyborg ninja who was going around, that was Olga, and Olga was a woman. And so like he's Raiden is a bit more androgynous than Snake, especially with the suit. There's like no bulge to it really, like visibly, I don't think, or at least it's not modeled. And so the president sort of grabs him to identify his sex because he thought Raiden was Cyborg Ninja, and he thought Cyborg Ninja was a woman. Somehow, I don't know how he drew that conclusion, or maybe he was aware of that because they were working together. Like I'm not gonna remember all those intricate details when the game is so convoluted, like each of them.
Yeah.
But they do a similar thing in 3 where Volgan grabs Snake's balls when he is disguised as what's his name?
Rykov?
Rykov, yeah,
Rykov.
thank you. Because Rykov is pretty much like it's Raiden in Japanese means lightning or something, and I guess Rykov it might be the equivalent of that in Russian. I don't know. But like also like the locker that like you put him in has like a Metal Gear Solid 2 poster to like also just allude to like the Raiden similarities.
Yeah.
But also like Volgan grabs your balls specifically because he could identify that you're not Volgan by the size of your dick and balls because he's used to the feel of that through
from
gay
Rykov.
homosexual actions with the man. So I thought that was an interesting little detail there, and that they're
Yeah, certainly interesting. Just
in the
fleshing out the world, I guess.
1960s evil Russian military commander, Lieutenant Surge,
Yeah.
as a little twink boyfriend commander.
He's evil because he's gay. That's what.
Whoa,
is
Kojima!
trying to-
What the fuck?
That's what he's
man?
trying to show off.
And he's trying to put heterosexual imagery in by the Eva. If you hold first person mode, you look at her boobs, and then all over across the game, everywhere you look, it's just Japanese softcore porn of fucking swimsuit models. It's like, I already have this Japanese fetish, Kojima. You don't have to feed it to me. I already know. I'm already on that shit. Okay, I've watched billions of years of anime.
Yeah, this was for the white boys in 2004 though.
Okay. That's true. That's true. They weren't. They were like, anime is gay and nerdy. And Kojima's here like actually, actually Russia is gay or something. I don't know. Evil is gay.
Evil is gay. Yeah.
Which is also a thing that
2004
probably
politics
people in 2004 believed in. Like, oh, dude, you're evil.
Yes.
That's so
No.
gay.
Exactly. Yep.
Dude. Back when that was an insult. Which honestly, I'm not to get political, but I'm glad that's gone because I never really thought that was funny. Even like before I like had any feelings about anything, I was like, that's not a good insult because it doesn't really make sense. Anyways, but that's not what this game is about. We're only joking. But I just thought it was like an interesting like. I mean, there's a lot of details across each of these games, and that's just another one, like the grabbing of the balls, and like what they mean in each
honestly,
game.
It's out of
It's
pocket,
what I'm here
but
for.
also like there's so much in these games that is out of pocket and out of nowhere that it just fits. Like you were already going through the same thing with Meryl, and the DARPA chief explicitly telling you like, oh yeah, you'll recognize her from the way that she walks, like
Does the
the way
DARPA
that
chief
she
say that
wiggles
to you?
her ass. I don't even
That's
remember
what
if it's a
Snake
DARPA
says
chief,
to
but someone
Otacon.
talks about it.
Because
that's
Otacon's
it.
like, how are you going to recognize her in the fucking soldier suit?
oh, I'd
And Snake's
remember
like,
that, but
bro,
wait,
her
yeah.
ass is fucking unforgettable, bro. There's no way I would disremember
Like it's moments like that where you're just like, okay, yeah, sure, and then you just continue playing.
Yeah. And you continue playing, and you just experience the worst janky shit that makes you forget all about whatever random horny nonsense you just witnessed. So yeah.
There's so much unique kind of cringe / camp /
I wouldn't call any of them cringe. It was all funny to me. It was just kind of like, oh, okay, we're going there.
Yeah.
Like there's way worse versions of these things. Like when I think of just anime in general and what it's capable of, like it's just
yeah, I think these is definitely more tongue in cheek, but yeah, it's still definitely more played up for humor than anything else.
I'm trying to think. Like the other boss fights, there was like the fire dude. He was like the most forgettable thing ever.
That
And
was
it's like,
such a pain in the ass for me
oh really?
because I didn't have the thermal vision, and
Oh yeah, you're
the
just
thing
in the
is so
dark,
dark.
and it just
So
the
I was trying to
fire.
use my night vision, but because the fire is so blown out when it's exposed under night vision, I couldn't see shit. It was such a
Oh
pain,
really?
and so you had to like try and it was awful. It was actually one of my least favorite fight
Damn.
experiences because of how jank it was. It would have been a lot easier if I had thermal vision and I could actually see him without, blinding myself with night vision. But yeah, not one of my favorite fights.
Yeah, damn.
So strange. Like he's an astronaut that came back from space and is eternally burning.
Wait, what?
Like what?
What do you? How
The
do you
yeah, the
know that? Was
Fury.
that what? Did they explain that ever? I don't
I
remember that.
think so. I don't know how I came to that conclusion,
They
but
could
it's
have
definitely
explained it.
something
I
that
just
I
wasn't paying
picked up
attention.
in either a video or through the game.
Yeah,
But yeah.
they do have a lot of supplementary like details about various things that they couldn't necessarily implement into the thing. Like in two, like Dead Cell is the organization of Fat Man, Fortune, and Vamp, and also the Solidus. And
Yeah.
they originally planned on there being like more people involved in that. Like there was this martial artist dude who they cut from the game, and like you can only really know about that if you like go read random material about
Mhm.
like the lore of things and like because they still like weave them into like existing within the world where like they just died or something like before the events of two.
Mhm.
And so yeah, I guess that exists for three because like yeah that fire dude, he took like maybe a minute or two for me in total, just like one try. Like he was the easiest
Lucky,
one for me.
lucky.
I was like yeah, that's unfortunate. That I guess I did have the thermal goggles. I don't remember what I
Mhm.
used, but it was like it just he had like the his health went down the quickest. Definitely, it
Yeah,
only took
because you
like a
only need
couple
like
shotgun
five
shots.
shots of a
Yeah.
sniper rifle.
Oh yeah, I
But
think I used the
couldn't
sniper
land
rifle.
it.
Yeah.
I couldn't land anything on it because he was fucking shrouded in blackness or the brightest light
Yeah.
imaginable.
Damn.
It was impossible to see.
Yeah. Sort of like the Olga fight in two as
Hmm.
Snake, which that was a cool
Yeah,
fight also. I feel like where she like put the
yeah,
light in
because
your
you kind of
face.
had to, yeah, utilize the elements of
Spacing. Like you
the
could see sort of where
environment
her
to
feet
face
are
off.
at, but you need to shoot at her
Hmm.
body, and it's like, I don't know if it felt unresponsive or if I was really just not hitting it correctly. Like I don't know what the hitboxes were, but
Hmm.
it felt like I was hitting her when I wasn't technically. You know, what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if you got that from that fight.
It was definitely, I was confused because like I didn't realize that you had to shoot out the lights. So like when I was
Oh,
shooting into
you
the
could do
flare, I
that?
was like, yeah, because that's the thing is the hitboxes I'm pretty sure are deliberately weird because when you're shooting her
I just shot at her with
with
that
the lens,
light
yeah,
blasting at my face. I just thought that was
yeah,
the way
it
to
took me
do
a
it.
while because what I was in your your perspective where it's like I feel like I should be hitting her for sure right now. I've like zeroed in. I've shot to the right. I've shot to the left of her. I'm shooting directly in the middle. I'm still not hitting her. And then I'm like, oh, I guess I should probably just take out the
Yeah, that
lights,
was a
and then
smarter
that might be
approach.
a
I
little
didn't like.
easier.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. But yeah, for like the second game specifically, by that point, they're like, yeah, like
Implementing those kind of
fully,
gimmicks and
yeah,
those
like fully into
environmental
like you
effects.
could hit like there's like a kitchen or some shit, and you like in the boat, and you can like
Yeah,
shoot all the pots and pans, and like and there's like a rec room in the ride-in section, like at the part where you have to like knock somebody out and like scan them at the door. Which for that part specifically, I fucked up because I like killed them. And I like dragged them
yeah,
in
I
front of the
know.
thing, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
immediately
But you
after,
need
like
him
I
alive.
brought the dude there, like the colonel on the Kodak called me, and just like, you fucking need to get someone alive to be conscious. It's like, can I just open their eyelids and then they'll like, why can't I do that? Is that how the retinal scanners work? It has to be a living set of eyes. Like,
It's an animal machine.
will somebody's
I
eyes
don't
look
know.
that different if you're dead?
This is all hypothetical cyborg ninja shit that is going on. The technology is not like one to one with what we're doing with. I guess in
But
the
still,
Metal Gear
despite that,
Solid
they're
universe.
very technical when it comes to the descriptions of things
Oh,
and
so overly.
I
Yeah,
mean, just everything. Like every like all the characters are just professional except for
yeah.
Metal Gear Solid 3 Ocelot, where he's just fucking around basically. Um, but yeah, like when it comes to like just the technical terms of everything, and like everybody's so specific about like the things that they're talking about, and I like how like the different characters are like each specialized in one thing. I think the first game emphasizes that the best with like the different people on the codec calls and stuff. And yeah, I mean the characters and story I would say is the most solid, well-rounded I mean, we probably emphasized that already throughout this video,
Mhm.
but it's the most consistently good aspects across all of these games, and the three I do think has the best gameplay overall. I wasn't really into the survival aspects, but I felt like the actual like the enemy AI is the smartest, and like the
Mhm.
ways in which you can navigate from one area to another is at its strongest in terms of the number of things you could do. Again, I ended up resorting to shotgun, killing 500 people. Was I playing it the way Kojima intended? Well, I was playing it one of
You
the
know, he
ways he
gave you the
intended.
options
Right,
to do
yeah,
that,
because if you give
so
me the
yeah,
tools to do things in a certain way, I'm going to do
it
things in a
must be
certain way.
intended.
Because,
Yeah.
like, yeah, I mean, yeah, you could play these games in, I mean, really whatever way you want to. If you want to do full stealth, if you want to do um, a full run, try not to alert anybody. If you want to do the stuff like you did, where you just knock
Mhm.
them out with a sleeper bullet, that's fine. That's all nice and good. Um, it just means
Yeah.
that
These
a bunch of NPCs will follow you. Their ghosts will follow you in a swamp if you kill too many of them. Okay, that's fine.
they're
I could
very
I
yeah.
could live with that. I guess.
These games are super influential in
Yeah.
the stealth systems that they pioneered, and like the sandbox use of those systems, where you have the option to run and gun, shoot everyone, or you can take it slow and utilize the wider systems in place. It's served to kind of pioneer a lot of the games that have gone on to
Yeah.
you know, epitomize the stealth genre, whether that be Splinter Cell or Dishonored or even Assassin's Creed stuff. This is really like some of the first engagements into that kind of stealth gameplay. And despite that not being super polished in maybe any of these games, it's probably the most polished in 3.
Hmm.
The variety of the systems and the depth of the AI and the scheduling that has to have taken place is really honestly beyond a ton of contemporary games, which is super super impressive.
Yeah. So Dishonored came out in 2012. How would you compare like the enemy AI or like the stealth? I mean, that game I think probably leans into it a little bit more rather than action. I
Yeah,
haven't played it though.
definitely. Because Dishonored is like even larger maps, it's even more free with the sandbox kind of gameplay. Um, Dishonored is still probably my favorite stealth game that I've ever played, because of that freedom you have,
Hmm.
where it's like, oh yeah, you'll be overhearing NPCs talking about a sewer grate that was left open, and you can go through there to get into this house, or you could, there's an open window on the third floor that is usually inaccessible, but if you break a chain in this house over here, then it'll lead to a bridge like dropping down. It's that kind of interactivity with
Oh,
the
okay.
environment that is definitely more fleshed out. However, I think the actual like the AI the systems in like Metal Gear Solid 3 with the disguise and the camouflage and the like percentage based, and like the noise that you make when you're walking versus running or crawling on different
Hmm.
materials is even more than like any games like Dishonored has really put to work like this game has.
Yeah,
Very impressive,
totally.
honestly.
Um, yeah. Action, stealth, espionage. That's what the game sort of sets out to be, all three of those things. And it succeeds at most of that, I guess, across each of them. Again, the combat, and I don't know if we want to wrap up or if you had anything else to say about three. I probably
Not
did also,
much.
I just don't
Yeah,
remember, I
yeah.
guess.
I think
Oh, there's
it's
there's the
definitely
part where you climb the ladder for 3 minutes. That's fun.
yeah, exactly.
Where
And
it
that's
plays
what
the
we were
fucking
talking
theme
about when we
song.
were talking about the there's a staircase in the first one.
Oh yeah,
There's this ladder when you're like literally climbing for 4 minutes straight,
yeah.
just like you're constantly just going up. It's very funny and campy and weird. You have like you said, the theme song, which is just a Bond theme song, Snake Eater. It's all tongue in cheek and very
Hmm.
very weird, very Kojima. It's just these are unique game experiences that are honestly unlike anything I've played. very glad I kind of dove in and finally got to play them because
Yeah,
they're
same.
super weird.
Yeah, I've been meaning to mess with these for a long while now. They've been on my list of stuff to check out, and I'm glad that I did at the at any time really that I did, because it's like I play all these JRPGs, and like people are aware that I play video games and stuff, and it's like what do I say to a normal person when they ask me what game I've been playing recently? Well, I could just mention this one because it's again, it leans slightly into the anime, but like on the surface more so it's like this cool epic action stealth espionage game that's
Thriller,
more
yeah,
understandable, and it relates to like like you said, like you mentioned earlier like your uncle was the one who had like played these games and I guess slightly introduced you to them. And yeah, like the older generation of gamers who maybe don't even necessarily play games here or anymore would have known about this like even then, because like they were pretty popular back then and they still are now, in different sort of ways. The internet's changed over time, like the second game predicted, and now we got all sorts of memes about like various aspects of them. A lot of them are still about 4 or 5 because they have like those 5 has the it uses the song Manu Sold the World, and then 4 uses Invisible, which I forget the group that made that song. But I've seen a handful of memes that just use those songs and just like random, I don't know, parts of the games or other stuff. But yeah, like the cultural impact that these games have had is quite wide in the video game landscape, and they're real icons, and for good reason, I think. They each have their own merits and reasons to go back to them, and honestly, each of them have reasons to like be anyone's favorite if you've played any of them. And honestly, I'm at the point where like I don't even really know which one I prefer out of like each of them, because I think like the first game, it's the most solid when it comes to like the characters and the story, and the gameplay is at its worst, which is usually the thing I care about the most. But when like the story and characters are so good, it's like it's really hard to just like ignore that and like just completely disregard the game because like, oh, the gameplay is bad. Not like the gameplay is completely terrible and like unredeemable or irredeemable,
But it's dated to
like,
the fact where it's hard to play.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's hard to approach and like look at. And I actually sort of like how the game looks, and like the lack of details on the characters' faces. It sort of like adds to this like sort of mystique or like interpretation of like the character faces. And then by the time we get to the second game, their faces can be fully modeled and emotional expressions can be displayed, and then only increases further by the third game when the detail is just that much more pointed out. And yeah, by the second game, it's like there's, I would say, overall better gameplay, but the story loses me a little bit, not like a huge amount. And the characters,
the messiest
yeah,
game.
maybe. But it also has like the coolest, like I don't know which one is. It maybe has my favorite ending out of all of them. The three's ending is really cool, also.
Yeah, they're pretty comparable.
Yeah.
But I do agree. I think 2 ends a little better, and then also the dual protagonist is a really interesting.
I love that sort
it.
of dual narrative structure that it has, and I understand why people back then would have been like upset about it, but I think it's understandable now in our modern times of like why that would not be an opinion that exists, because what they do with it is really cool. Like you could only have the like messages that the game wanted to have if like Raiden was this sort of bare bones protagonist with sort of seemingly nothing going on to him. He almost had like this anime, like not necessarily exclusive to anime, but like an amnesia a type of thing where like Rose would be like, you remember what April 30th is or like whatever, and he would be like, no,
Like,
I have no idea. What are you talking about? And then there's like a lot of other things that he didn't know, so he's sort of like that, like you said earlier, that blank slate type of thing to directly be like attributed to the player in a more direct way than like Snake, where he's a much more fully realized character person thing, even by the first game and especially by the second game, at least for Solid.
Yeah.
And then I mean, Naked they're very similar, like we said. I mean, and I know I think 5 features this dude Venom Snake. I don't know what point in time it takes place in. And 4 features it's Solid Snake again, but he's like a little bit older. Because also we didn't mention it, but like the Les Enfants Terribles people, they like age slightly faster than other people. Like there was only I think like 5 years of difference between Solidus and Solid, but he like looked like 20 years
Way older,
older than
yeah.
him or something. So yeah, there's just a lot to go over, and like even in this 3 hour session of us talking about it, that's you could
We're skipping
argue
over a
we're
ton.
only scratching the surface with these or something, or like I'm sure like somebody if there were to be a number of people watching this video that is a large number, we would get eventually people who would be pretty hardcore fans of this series, and they would have maybe more insight onto particular things. But that's why we are establishing ourselves as fresh new voices and opinions onto this sort of media franchise here that we're navigating. So yeah, it was a cool time to go back to them again. I don't know which one do you think you prefer out of the three of them?
So because of my problems with one gameplay wise, I was only able to give it like a 6 out of 10 rating
That's fine.
wise,
Yeah, that's
because I liked it, but my actual experience with it was so painful that I can't give it any higher than that. But for 2 and 3, they were like very similar experience wise. I think I gave them both 8 out of 10s,
Okay.
just because I enjoyed them a lot. I think there's still the issue that comes with them being so old, and I can only get over the dated systems and combat systems and controls that for so much. But I think the overall experiences are much better, and I found a bunch of value in playing through both of them.
Yeah, cool. I think I would give each of these a 7 across the board. With like eventually, if I were to revisit these in the future, like the third game is getting that Delta remake thing.
Yeah,
So if I were to
that'd be
play
interesting
any
to
of them,
check
I would
that out.
check that one out, I guess, in the future, because it looks, I don't know, it looks cool, I guess. And yeah, like I don't know how to like feel like if one necessarily like rises that much higher than the others, for me at least. And I also want to emphasize that like part of my problem with these games is a me problem, where I'm just like not necessarily going through the games in the best, smartest way, like course of action. Like there's plenty of gameplay footage that I have of just like me being a complete idiot, and then I like in the third game I like somebody notices me and I like try to hide in like a super obvious spot, and they just like run up to me and shoot at me. I'm like, oh, they found me, and then
How
I
could
just
they
run
find it
around
like
for a
that?
fuck ton of time, because for some reason I don't want to shoot back and fight at them at first, because I want to, I don't know, give the game a some sort of shot at something before I halfway through just
Pull out the shotgun,
just pull the shotgun.
mow them
Like,
down.
I'm done with this stealth. It's action only beyond this point. Action espionage only. No more stealth. But these games are things I will be thinking about going forward in my life, at least for especially 2 and 3. I feel like the stories resonate a bit stronger in terms of like themes that go on, even though I think 1 probably has the best story attached to it. If that makes sense. It's kind of weird. Like, I think 1 has the best story, but the resonating
most
themes,
streamlined and most
like the
coherent.
takeaways in 2 and 3 are a bit stronger.
But yeah, because they get a lot more abstract and metaphorical and yeah, so it's a lot wider that they can go with the themes that we were discussing. But it leads to a more fragmented and messy story. So each of these games have their ups and downs, and for the most part, they balance out throughout the series, where you really could pick any of them to be your favorite, and I think you'd have a good argument.
Yeah.
Or you could just, take them all as they are, as super foundational games with an incredible, like, unique voice behind them, and a really unique vision. Even to today, there aren't really any games that are scratching the same itch that these games are doing, and doing them all, because the amount of things that these games like to juggle, and for the most part are successful in keeping them up in the air. Many games, even contemporaneously, are not doing the same thing, and are certainly not doing it quite as successfully. So
part of that is like the whole like gaming is dying thing. If we want to mention that, is like the business side of gaming has taken over a little bit more in recent years, which allows for sort of less stuff like passion projects, I guess, to be made in theory for like the
less
AAA
freedom.
stuff of the freedom of stuff where it's sort of like the modern movie industry, I guess. It's sort of
You're developing and producing for the bottom line, and because
as wide of a net as you could cast.
Yeah,
I guess
know
the
what
safest
is going to
thing.
work. Yeah, I think there have been a bunch of research on what things work, what things are profitable, and so that leaves a very narrow alleyway for experimentation that games made in the early 2000s just didn't really have those limitations.
Yeah, not
And
to get on
so
like the doomer mindset here at the end, because like, but it's an important thing to talk about because it is a real thing happening, and like people attribute it to like a mostly bad thing, but we also forget like all the experimental failures of the times because there are going to be things that exist within the canon less and less as time goes on. Like they're going to be more forgotten about things versus things that come out right now that we're experiencing. It's going to be like, how many people 10 years from now are going to be talking about like whatever shitty gaming experience comes out right now? Like probably not too many.
Just
like we're still going to be talking about all the good stuff.
There's just too many games being released now that it's way easier to fall beneath the cracks. And while there is still a wide array of games that are fantastic and unique, and the indie scene is maybe even bigger than it's ever been.
Sure.
But there's still the want for AAA games that are actually doing something interesting and unique. And while I'm not sure if Metal Gear Solid would be considered AAA, they've certainly
at the time. I mean, it's Konami at first, and then Kojima forms his own thing at some point in the series. I think even by like the second or third one, or I don't know. I have no idea on the timeline of that because he eventually got away from them because they're stupid or something.
They did not treat them well.
Didn't they start as like a card game company and then they made video games?
Yeah,
or is that somebody else?
A bunch of different.
Did they do Yu-Gi-Oh? Is that kind of?
I'm not sure.
Who knows? We should probably know that. Oops, whatever. Another thing about the Master Collection is it had this digital graphic novel thing. I didn't really mess around with this too much, but it was basically just like it was just the story of seemingly each of the games, but just like in a comic book format, and it was like they kept all like the voice lines in, and it was sort of animated a little bit. It looked cool. I only looked at it for like the very brief period of time, which I guess I'll show footage of that right now. And yeah, the only other thing I would say is, I recommend these games, and I assume you do as well.
Of course.
And I would recommend playing them, and then also going and looking up on YouTube Super Smash Bros. Codec calls, where like in Super Smash Bros. Snake, like if you're on his map, in Brawl and both in Ultimate also, if you're on his map and then you like crouch and taunt or something, he'll like he'll like call somebody. If you have to be in a 1v1 match against another character, and he'll call one of the characters from the first game, either the Colonel, Mei Ling, or Otacon, and they'll just have like they'll have a. Do you not know about this?
I know.
They'll have a conversation about like the fighter he's going up against. And they're really cool and funny, and they're nice pieces of.
It's another element.
They're just so sick. It's just great, like fan service, I guess you could say.
For sure.
In Super Smash Bros. It existed in Brawl, and then they put it when Snake was not in the Wii U version or 3DS version of Smash, but he was in Ultimate. And they bring it back, but they don't add anything new to it. So the only codec calls that exist are for the characters who were in Brawl. There aren't any new ones for the people who were outside of that, which is kind of it's a miss. With Sakurai, what did we gotta fill this out. We gotta bring this back.
They were doing DLC characters, and so it would be hard.
I need a Piranha Plant. I need to know about Piranha Plant, the lore of that.
Yep. Missing out.
Plant running around, or whatever. Or Banjo Kazooie or Sora. Like, give me those calls with the man, the myth, Snake, and his friends. But I understand why they couldn't do it. 'Cause it required them to get not just Snake's voice actor. What's the dude's name? It's like, isn't it like Dan something?
David Hayter.
David Hayter. Yeah, thank you. Because you have to bring him back, and then whatever other characters you want him to.
Although David Hayter is no longer the voice of Snake, right? He got replaced because Kojima is, kind of Kojima's an interesting character to talk about. Probably won't do it in this video, but yeah, he seems to
We already sort of have.
maybe, yeah, he seems to maybe be trying to distance
Say
himself
it, Peter.
from his the voice actors that he
Oh, really?
has been working with,
Why?
and instead is working with more well-known actors that are, you know,
like the Robert Pattinson
from movies that he
and,
is enjoying. Yeah, because I'm pretty sure he replaced David Hayter with
the.
Kiefer Sunderland.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is that the dude in Death Stranding, or is that somebody else? Am I stupid? Which one is
He
Keith
might
Sutherland?
appear. He was
to look him
in Stand By Me. He's one of the bullies, the main bully, I think.
Keith Sutherland. Oh, he is in Stand By Me. But man, the David Hayter's such an iconic voice of Snake.
I know.
Man, it's like, how are you gonna replace that? So,
Yeah,
so is
people
he
would
gonna
not
voice
have
him in Metal Gear Solid Delta? The 3
might.
remake? Is that what
Yeah,
you're
because
saying?
it's. I'm pretty sure.
Because like, what
David
even other
Hayter has
games is
had a falling out with Kojima. So.
no? But it was so cool and epic. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Voice actors should be replaced eventually. I do think people have like too wide of an attachment for them. Like there are a lot of people upset about Charles Martinet stepping down from Mario Luigi Wario Waluigi, which he did a great job with that. It's just that he's, you know, like however he's like 70 years old or some shit.
Yeah.
It's like he needs to be replaced eventually, and the people who have been voicing the characters so far, you know, they do a good job with it. I think because like they would like reuse so many of like each of those 4 characters like generic sound effects across like so many of the games for like 10 years. They would just be like they would just not record any new voice lines for them really, for the most part, for like a lot of just general cases with that. So I mean, yeah. I don't know. We'll see what the future will have in store for this series, and maybe someday we'll talk about 4, 5, Rising, some of the other spin-offs. Maybe if they do like a Master Collection Volume 2, and it has Ghost Baby or whatever the shit is called. And yeah, we'll see, and we'll go from there, I guess. Yeah, that'll do it for now, I guess. The outro will happen maybe eventually. Who knows? We'll see. Now it's time for the outro, right?
Snake, listen. Even though DrewPeter has been recording videos for nearly a year now, they still don't know how to end their YouTube videos.
What?
I know it may sound hard to believe, but as far as making YouTube videos go, they're still pretty much amateurs. There's an art form for all parts of a YouTube video, but especially the ending. There's many ways that different YouTubers might decide to end it.
Make sure to like and subscribe, right? How hard can it be?
It's not that simple. Sure, many people say something like that at the end of their videos, but what really matters is how the YouTuber says it in such a way that's unique. If every YouTuber gave the exact same outro, the viewer would get tired of them. To combat this, YouTubers have acquired different methods of ending their YouTube videos while keeping the message the same. Something like adding a tagline specific to their channel, for example.
So, our choice is whether we try to imitate DrewPeter's poor outros or try to come up with a unique one of our own.
It's your call, Snake.
We know DrewPeter isn't here for the numbers. They just want to put their opinion out into the overgrown void of the YouTube review space and see what happens. They haven't felt the need to tell people to like, subscribe, or comment. I think I could see what they're coming from. People should be able to think for themselves. Let them subscribe if they want. Who's to stop them? And if they don't want to, well, then that's just fine as well. Viewers don't need somebody else to tell them to support the video.
I'm not sure if I see it the same way. It's not necessarily an order that the YouTubers are giving out. It's more like a reminder.
A reminder?
Many people watch plenty of YouTube videos throughout their day. As soon as one ends, they'll want to start a new one. Before they do so, the YouTuber might want to remind them to like and subscribe before they move on to another video.
Tell me, do you trust DrewPeter?
Do I trust them?
Earlier you told me that you were their fan, maybe even their biggest. Do you trust them when it comes to them making their videos?
Well, yeah. But even I recognize that their outros are flawed.
Flawed because they don't give the typical YouTuber spiel. But if you trust them, and they trust you back, then that's all that really matters, doesn't it?
What you're saying is that we should put our trust in the viewer. Isn't that right?
Exactly. You also said that this was my choice, but that's wrong. You're just as important in this mission as I am. So for this to work, we need to be on the same page.
Yes. I'm right there with you, Snake.
So, we'll just have to wait and see what the future holds.
The subs, the likes, and the comments.
Or the lack thereof. Either way, it'll work out for everyone involved.